Chapter 886. Who is your master? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. If he knows who his enemy is, he will definitely take revenge. He was already certain that Si Ming's master was the enemy who schemed against him. Si Ming narrowed his eyes and did not answer Ning Fan's question. The reason why he wore the iron mask to conceal his qi and appearance was to not expose his identity and let others know that his master was plotting against the wild world. Since he had the intention to hide his identity, why would he tell Ning Fan his master's name? He. With your identity as an ant in the lower world, you don't have the right to know my master's name. Since Fan Mu is already dead, I can only leave this place and inform my master about this matter. Even though Fan Mu is dead, you might be able to replace him and become the 17th chess piece on my master's chessboard. Even though I don't know how you avoided my master's scheme in the past, you can't avoid it this time. Si Ming's tone was arrogant. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately took out a black-red jade talisman and crushed it. A black-red passageway appeared beside him and he leaped into it. It was a barbaric flash passageway. It was a special teleportation ability of the ancient wild world's cultivators. If ordinary people want to leave the wild ancient region, they could only wait for the exit gate that opened once every 10 years. However, Si Ming used that jade talisman to directly summon a teleportation passageway that allowed him to directly return to the southern heaven immortal world. Earth Devil, Iron Crow Daoist, Four-Eyed Devil Monarch and Fairy Han Wu's expressions changed. The four of them sensed extreme danger from that barbaric flash passageway. That passageway could only be entered by barbarian cultivators who possessed the power of barbaric flash. Any foreign cultivator who enters would immediately be killed by the law of the world. Ning Fan's eyes became even more solemn. It seemed like Si Ming's identity was much more complicated than what he imagined. It was as if she was an ancient barbarian cultivator who possessed the pure power of barbaric flash. Others might not be able to see through the power of barbaric flash in Si Ming's body, but Ning Fan could. You guys stay here and help me reinforce this passageway. Don't let the entrance of the passageway close. I will enter the passageway alone. As soon as Ning Fan's voice fell, he followed Si Ming and leaped into the passageway to catch up with her. Fairy Han Wu's heart tightened. She did not expect that Ning Fan would directly enter the passageway. She did not know that Ning Fan possessed the calamity blood and cultivated the reckless flash, which made him unafraid of the laws of the passage. Seeing that Ning Fan had already entered the passage, she could only pray to the moon ancestor, hoping that Ning Fan would be fine and escape from the laws of the passage. Thinking of Ning Fan's request, Fairy Han Wu's brows knitted even tighter. She let out a sigh and activated their abilities together with the others to stabilize the entrance of the passageway. If he didn't do that, the entrance would probably close up and disappear on its own in just a few breaths' time. By then, even if he managed to capture Si Ming, he wouldn't be able to return to the desolate lands through the passageway. In just a few breaths' time, Si Ming was already far away in the tunnel. This was a space tunnel formed by the power of brutal flash. Inside the tunnel, Si Ming's body would shatter into ice threads from time to time, and every time she shattered, she would travel a great distance. Just as he was turning into ice and flying away in the passageway, he suddenly sensed that Ning Fan had entered the passageway. Immediately, he frowned. Even though he knew that Ning Fan had killed Fan Mu, he only thought that Ning Fan had the help of Earth Devil, Daoist Iron Crow and other experts. He could only tell that Ning Fan had stepped into the second step, but he could not tell what his exact cultivation base was. In his memory, Ning Fan was just a divine transformation realm cultivator 200 years ago. He was one of the 7 Dao corpses that his master had chosen for him. 200 years had passed. Even if Ning Fan's innate talent was heaven-defying and he had stepped into the second step of Dao cultivation, he would at most be at the profound mortal realm, which was not worth mentioning. I didn't expect this young man to actually have the courage to enter the passageway of brutal flash to chase after me. He. Interesting. This young man's cultivation base might not be worth mentioning, but he is still a 6-star tribulation spirit with broken blood. I shouldn't underestimate him too much. In the depths of the passageway, Si Ming retracted his traveling light and smiled coldly. Then, he turned around and looked at Ning Fan, who was chasing after him. Initially, I wanted to keep you in the desolate lands for the time being. However, since you've already caught up to me, you should return to the southern heaven immortal world with me and meet my master. Heaven's fate net, bind. Si Ming drew out an ice thread from his body and threw it at Ning Fan. That ice thread immediately turned into a net of ice threads, trapping Ning Fan within it in the blink of an eye. This ice net was Si Ming's Dao weapon. Any profound mortal realm cultivator caught in the net would instantly have their magic power frozen and lose their ability to move. Ant of the Rain World, you've already been bound by my Dao weapon. Just come with me obediently. Si Ming said with a faint smile. His expression was calm, as if capturing Ning Fan was a piece of cake to him. However, at the next moment, his smile froze on his face. All of a sudden, a towering black flame burst out from Ning Fan's body, incinerating the entire ice net in an instant. Si Ming let out a muffled groan when his Dao weapon was destroyed. He took a few steps back and coughed out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with shock and anger. The devil flame that Ning Fan used to burn the ice net had already reached the level of the first darkness true fire, one of the 12 darkness true fires. The level of Ning Fan's devil flame was already at the bottleneck of breaking through to the true fire realm. Now that he had broken through to the crossing truth realm, his devil flame naturally broke through to the true fire realm. The first darkness true fire, huh? I didn't expect that a mere profound mortal realm cultivator like you would actually have the true fire that only true immortals can possess. Just as Si Ming's voice fell, he was suddenly hit by a violent aura force. Once again, he coughed out blood and was forced to retreat. He raised his head and breathed rapidly, looking at Ning Fan in disbelief. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's body erupted with a world-shaking killing aura. His intermediate crossing truth realm cultivation base was completely exposed. A cold and emotionless voice suddenly entered Si Ming's ears, causing him to cough out blood and retreat. Who told you that I'm a profound mortal realm cultivator? Ning Fan stared at Si Ming coldly. The killing intent in his eyes intensified. He had already been schemed against by Si Ming's master once. Because of that, his father lost his memory and one of his arms. His mother lost her demon blood and turned into a stone statue, suffering for 1,000 years. He would never give Si Ming's master another chance to scheme against him. He would never let Si Ming return to the South Heaven immortal world alive. Intermediate crossing truth realm? This is impossible. Si Ming fell into an unprecedented shock. He had never heard of anyone who could cultivate from the spirit-severing realm to the crossing truth realm in just 200 years. Even an immortal emperor's follower with a peerless aptitude like him could not have such a cultivation speed. Even among the great ancient emperors, only a few of them could have such a cultivation speed. No wonder my master once said that you're the most suitable Dao corpse for me. It's really a pity that I couldn't devour you in the past, however, so what if you're Duzhen? I have the divine ability that my master has given me. It's as easy as flipping my hand to bring you back to the South Heaven immortal world. Si Ming touched his glabella with one of his fingers and pulled it outwards. A dark red aurora flashed and a 5-colored pearl that seemed to be real appeared in his hand. He raised his hand and threw it at Ning Fan's head. Each color of the 5-colored pearl corresponded to one of the 5 elements. When the pearl was thrown down, the 5 elements would merge into one. Even a peak crossing truth expert would be killed in a single strike. Facing such a pearl, even an ordinary void being would have to be wary. However, Ning Fan neither dodged nor evaded it. He just pointed his finger forward and the 5-colored pearl immediately trembled violently. Its momentum dissipated and it fell on Ning Fan's palm. Ning Fan opened his mouth and directly swallowed it into his stomach for refinement. Ning Fan possessed the great 5 elements physique. With his current cultivation base, he was not afraid of the power of the 5 elements at all. I'm going to ask you again. Who is your master? Ning Fan asked coldly. Si Ming's expression changed again. She gritted her teeth and snorted. You don't have the right to know my master's name. While speaking, Si Ming touched his glabella again and drew out a ray of six-colored light. Then, she raised her hand and threw it at Ning Fan. It was a six-colored formation diagram called the Six Extremes diagram. It was a life-saving divine ability that immortal Emperor Yun Zhang refined by extracting the spirit of the treasure diagram. It was powerful enough to trap a mid-void being cultivator inside the treasure diagram and kill him. As soon as the six-colored light landed on Ning Fan, a gigantic formation diagram immediately appeared beneath his feet. Within the formation diagram, the shadows of six gigantic beasts gradually appeared. Each of them stood on one of the legs of the formation diagram and roared at the sky. Without a doubt, the six shadows of the beasts were savage beasts. As the formation diagram was activated, the six beasts opened their mouths at the same time and breathed out six rays of barbaric flash which whistled towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not dodge or evade. Instead, he used both of his hands to activate the secret word force, instantly changing the momentum of the formation diagram beneath his feet. The formation diagram beneath his feet immediately crumbled. The shadows of the six savage beasts were all destroyed. As for the six rays of barbaric flash which were initially attacking Ning Fan, they instantly changed their direction and headed towards Si Ming. To Ning Fan, who had comprehended the secret word force, a killing formation of this level was useless. Not good. Without any hesitation, Si Ming pressed her finger on her glabella again and drew out a beast soul from it. Then, she threw it forward. It was a unicorn with gray scales and horns. Its aura force was almost close to that of a thought fragmentation old monster. Facing the six rays of barbaric flash which were coming at it, the unicorn directly opened its mouth and swallowed the rays of barbaric flash which were powerful enough to kill a mid-void being cultivator. Then, it let out a burp. This beast was the third life-saving divine ability that immortal Emperor Yun Zhang gave to Si Ming. With this beast, even an early thought fragmentation old monster might not be able to defeat Si Ming. After summoning this beast, Si Ming's expression finally regained some calmness. The way she looked at Ning Fan also became arrogant again. Are you going to follow me back to Southern Heaven obediently or force me to attack you? Ning Fan glanced at the unicorn and knew that he was no match for it with his current strength. He could only rely on the power of the spiritual puppets. The power of Yin Yang Rain and War Yin Yang was instantly unsealed by Ning Fan. Then, he activated the War God Art and Soul Extraction technique to their limits. Ning Fan's chi began to rise rapidly. In just a few breaths, it had already reached the mid-void being cultivator, which made Si Ming shocked again. If it wasn't for the divine ability that her master gave her, she wouldn't even be able to stand in front of Ning Fan. Ning Fan's chi force was too strong. He's not an ant. Compared to him, I'm the ant. Si Ming clenched her fists unwillingly. Her jealousy towards Ning Fan had increased. Initially, she wanted to capture Ning Fan and bring him back to Southern Heaven. Now, she just wanted to kill him on the spot. She could not bear the feeling of being looked down upon by the person who used to be an ant. Fate will beast, bite him to death. Si Ming bit the tip of her tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood mist towards the unicorn. When the blood mist entered the unicorn's body, its eyes immediately turned bloodshot. Its body went berserk and it let out a roar towards the sky. All of a sudden, the unicorn split into two, then into four and then into 8. In just a few moments, it had turned into tens of thousands of beast shadows, rushing towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes darkened. The attack of this unicorn was extremely difficult to defend against. If he doesn't summon his spiritual puppets, he would most likely die under its attack. What made Ning Fan feel even more solemn was the sense of danger that Si Ming gave him. There were 3 types of life-saving divine abilities in Si Ming's body. The unicorn was the 3rd type. However, the thing that gave Ning Fan the strongest sense of danger was not the unicorn. In other words, Si Ming still had a supreme treasure that was much stronger than the unicorn. The attacks of the tens of thousands of beast shadows stirred up a strong gust of wind, causing Ning Fan's black hair to dance wildly. He was like a lonely boat in the middle of the vast ocean that would sink to the bottom of the sea at any time. Amidst the roars of the beasts, Ning Fan waved his hand and summoned a puppet. The puppet grew in the wind and turned into a cloaked puppet. Ning Fan's 10 fingers were wrapped with the 6 desires puppet threads. He activated his divine ability and the puppet divided into 10, then 100 and then 1,000. In an instant, there were tens of thousands of virtual puppets. They waved their fists and clashed against the beast's divine ability. The shadows of the beasts crumbled one after another. The same went for the puppets. After the last clash, the unicorn let out a miserable groan and revealed itself. Then, it was sent flying backwards like a kite with a broken string. After all, it was not a real demonic beast. It was just a virtual shadow that could only be used once. Now that its power had been exhausted, it was naturally on the verge of dissipating. The cloaked puppet was also heavily damaged. There were already many cracks on its body. "This is the thought-breaking puppet," Si Ming gasped. There were not many puppets of this level in the entire Southern Heaven Immortal world. Ning Fan actually had one. She had already used up the 3 life-saving divine abilities that her master had given her. However, she still could not defeat Ning Fan. At this moment, she was a little afraid of Ning Fan. The life-saving divine abilities that my master had given me have already been used up. It's not a good idea to continue fighting with this brat. It's better for me to return to Southern Heaven as soon as possible. Si Ming swallowed her saliva. She activated the invisibility divine ability of the Iron Mask, trying to escape. However, just as her body disappeared into the world, she was shaken by Ning Fan's aura force again, forcing her to reveal herself. At the next moment, Si Ming felt a chill on her back. To her surprise, the cloaked puppet appeared in front of her and threw a punch at her head. The punch from the thought-breaking puppet was extremely powerful. How could Si Ming resist it without any life-saving divine abilities? The iron mask of the 10th Nirvana Hotian realm was directly shattered into pieces by the cloaked puppet's punch. Si Ming's head was directly smashed by the cloaked puppet's punch. However, not a single drop of blood flowed out. Along with Si Ming's body, Si Ming's head exploded into ice shards. As the ice threads shattered and condensed, Si Ming's delicate and pretty face was revealed. Her body reformed 10,000 zhang away. Incarnation technique? No, it's not. It's not an ordinary incarnation technique. Ning Fan activated the puppet strings. The cloaked puppet instantly appeared 10,000 zhang away and punched Si Ming again. Si Ming's corpse continued to shatter and reform into ice threads. No matter how many times it shattered, it still did not die. This person is actually so difficult to kill. Ning Fan's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. He could clearly feel that each of his attacks had accurately killed Si Ming. However, he did not know why Si Ming could come back to life every time he died. It was really strange. "Ning Fan, you can't kill me. You can't kill me. I have the undying devil veins. I have the devil veins physique of the strongest immortal emperor under the immortal sovereign in the ancient immortal domain. You can't kill me. Why do you think my master would favor me with my insignificant cultivation base? Where do you think the 2 words Si Ming came from? Si Ming, Si Ming. I control the fate of heaven and earth. Who in this world can kill me?" Si Ming laughed arrogantly. She dashed towards Ning Fan fearlessly and directly detonated her primordial spirit. Ning Fan was naturally not afraid of the self-detonation of a mid-human profound realm cultivator. With a wave of his hand, he neutralized the self-detonation wave. However, what shocked him was that Si Ming was still alive even after detonating her primordial spirit. Her undying physique was simply heaven-defying. "Don't you want to know my master's name? Now, I will tell you. My master is one of the 4 great immortal emperors of the Southern Heaven Immortal world, immortal emperor who controls fate. My master bestowed the name, Si Ming, to me in an attempt to nurture me into the next immortal emperor who controls fate. I am the 7th chess piece on my master's chessboard. If I become the immortal emperor who controls fate, my master will be able to control Ming's fate. Who in the illusory world can be his match? I originally didn't want to tell you about this. However, since I have already decided to kill you here, there's no harm in telling you. Star Luo chess piece, appear. Ming punched her chest, creating a bloody hole. Then, she took out a black chess piece from it. As she had cultivated the undying devil veins, the bloody hole on her chest immediately healed at an extremely fast speed. That was the devil vein ability of the strongest immortal emperor under immortal sovereign Zido, the undying great emperor. Throughout the ages, only that great emperor had the special physique to cultivate this devil vein. Ming was the second person who had the undying physique in the world. In fact, her undying devil veins were far from being completed and she was far from being immortal. If Ming cultivates to the immortal emperor realm, she might really possess an immortal body, just like the undying great emperor. Green light flickered in Ning Fan's eyes. His gaze swept across Ming and the chess piece in her hand. With his eyesight, he gradually discovered some clues about Ming's physique. You aren't truly immortal. Your cultivation base is still low. Even if you have the undying physique, you can't truly be immortal. It will just take me some effort to kill you. Moreover, the disadvantage of this physique is too great. Even though you have the ability to be immortal, you can't cultivate it to the peak of the Tao. Ning Fan's astonishment towards the undying devil veins gradually faded away. What replaced it was killing intent and lamenting. That killing intent was uncontrollable because he knew the identity of his enemy. That lamenting was because even though the undying devil veins were powerful, it was a type of devil veins that gave up on death and chose life. The great Tao of this devil veins was incomplete. Because of this defect, the cultivator could only reach the immortal emperor realm at most, unable to advance to the third step of the saint realm. The undying great emperor was the strongest immortal emperor under immortal sovereign Zido. However, he would only be an immortal emperor for eternity. His immortality was still limited. At least, he couldn't be immortal in front of those peak saints. His astonishment towards the undying devil veins had subsided. Instead, his astonishment towards the Star Luo chess piece increased. Ning Fan sensed an extremely dangerous feeling from the Star Luo chess piece in Ming's hand. He was extremely sure that the most dangerous thing in Ming's body was this tiny chess piece. This chess piece was originally going to be given to Fan Mu. However, since you've killed him, I'll use this chess piece to kill you. Karma, appear. Star Luo, open. The chess piece turned into a ray of black light and disappeared in a flash. Before Ning Fan could react, a chess piece directly appeared in his body. Even with Ning Fan's eyesight, he could not detect how the chess piece entered his body. Only when the chess piece appeared in his body did a ray of black light shoot towards Ning Fan's chest. Ning Fan tried to stop that ray of black light but realized that he could not stop it at all. The ray of black light immediately retreated while coughing out blood. The pure black power of karma intertwined around his body, turning his white robes black. With your cultivation base, you won't be able to block the attack of the Star Luo chess piece at all. This is the reversal of karma. First, there's the effect of the chess piece entering your body. Then, there's the cause of the black light shooting towards your chest. How can you block its power when you can't see through karma? What my master seeks in his life is luck and fate. The so-called fate is made up of countless karmic connections. On this chessboard of heaven and earth, you're just a tiny chess piece. You won't be able to break free. As soon as Ming's voice fell, an illusory purple-golden chessboard appeared beneath Ning Fan's feet. On the chessboard, black and white chess pieces were facing each other. He was just one of the black chess pieces. The pure black power of karma was corroding Ning Fan's body crazily. His body gradually became unable to move, but the cold light in his eyes became sharper. The illusory chessboard beneath his feet was crazily devouring his Tao experience, his cultivation base and all of his karma. He did not want to be devoured by the chessboard. He did not want to become a chess piece. If he did not want to, even the star Luo chess of the immortal emperor could not devour him. Karma, fate. So what if it was fate? So what if it was luck? As long as I cut off a part of fate, this chessboard of karma would immediately collapse. What's so scary about it? 5 yin-yang swords, the first sword move, heavenly sword appears. Ning Fan's body suddenly shone with 4 colors. Those 4 colors were the colors of luck. Si Ming's expression suddenly changed. She could not imagine that Ning Fan actually had the luck of a 4-colored immortal luck. You obviously tainted your own luck with black. How can it be a 4-colored immortal luck? Just as Si Ming was about to say something, her expression suddenly changed. The 4-colored luck in Ning Fan's hand slowly condensed into a 4-colored heavenly sword. Without saying a word, he swung the sword at the illusory image of the chessboard of karma. 10 rays, 100 rays, 1,000 rays. More and more 4-colored sword light fell on the chessboard of karma. 10,000 rays, 100,000 rays, 1,000,000 rays. Ning Fan suddenly roared at the sky. His devil roar shook the world and blood flames soared to the sky. His voice and will merged into the 1,000,000 rays of sword light, as if he was going to cut off all the luck in this world. The 5 yin-yang swords, the heavenly sword severing luck. It could sever all the luck in this world. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he could at most use the heavenly sword of fate with his strong luck. He could not display the other 4 swords. That was why he simplified the 5 yin-yang swords and switched to the 5 swords of rain and the 5 swords of battle. Even though he could only display the first sword move of the 5 yin-yang swords, this sword move was enough to shatter all the luck in the illusory chessboard beneath his feet. Ning Fan spurted out a mouthful of blood essence, increasing the power of the 1,000,000 rays of 4-colored sword light to the maximum. The power of luck in the illusory chessboard began to crumble. The cracks on the chessboard were like wriggling horned dragons that were tearing the chessboard apart. As the number of cracks increased, the chessboard could no longer withstand the impact of the 4-colored sword light and shattered with a loud bang. The black chess piece that went into Ning Fan's body suddenly exploded inside his body. Immediately, it blasted a hideous bloody hole on his chest and shattered all of his ribs. Even though the chessboard was destroyed by Ning Fan, the chess piece still severely injured Ning Fan. If the chessboard remained, Ning Fan would definitely be killed by the chess piece in an instant. That chess piece was a supreme treasure that immortal Emperor Fate Master had painstakingly refined. Even he did not have many chess pieces in his possession. It was already rare for him to bestow one to Si Ming. Naturally, he would not give her a second one. Si Ming looked at the illusory chessboard that was constantly crumbling in disbelief and swallowed her saliva. If she was not mistaken, Ning Fan had already broken free from the restraint of the star chess piece and destroyed it. Is this person really just Du Zhen? Even if he's the broken thought's old monster, he certainly wouldn't be able to break free once he gets hit by the star chess piece. How did he break free? While Si Ming was still in shock, she suddenly felt a sharp pain on her arm. Her right arm was actually cut off by Ning Fan's sword. Since he possessed the undying devil veins, it was extremely easy for him to recover a severed right arm. However, at this moment, his severed right arm could not be regrown at all. How could this be? Why did my undying devil veins lose their effect? Wait. What kind of sword light is that? Si Ming looked at Ning Fan with a terrified expression. However, she saw that the 4-colored heavenly sword in Ning Fan's hand had already dissipated and turned into a long sword that had black and white intertwining patterns. The heavenly sword severs fate while the mortal sword severs life. At the end of the day, the undying devil veins is just a physique that has boundless fate. With the mortal sword and the life sword, it's enough to kill you. I can't even use 1,000th of the mortal sword's power. It's not suitable for combat. However, it's more than enough to kill you now. After all, in my eyes, you are just a human profound realm ant without my master's protection. I can destroy you with just a flick of my finger. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a terrifying cold light. The mortal sword in his hand gave Si Ming a feeling that death was inevitable. Si Ming would never know that even though the undying Great Emperor was the strongest Great Emperor under the immortal sovereign, he was once severely injured by the ancient Chaos Great Emperor. The reason why the ancient Chaos Great Emperor could injure the undying Great Emperor was because of the life-slaying sword of the 5 yin-yang swords. This sword could sever all undying beings in the world. Even the undying Great Emperor would find it hard to withstand the power of this sword. This sword light can actually injure the undying devil veins. It's simply heaven-defying. This isn't good. I'm no match for him. I must retreat. Si Ming's face was filled with fear. His body flashed and immediately turned into an ice thread to escape. Unfortunately, in terms of speed, how could he outrun Ning Fan, who was using the golden light on the ground? Ning Fan used the golden light on the ground and instantly appeared in front of Si Ming. Without saying a word, he swung his sword again. This slash directly left a hideous sword wound on Si Ming's chest that could not be healed. Blood spurted out like arrows. At this moment, Si Ming was really afraid. If he knew that Ning Fan had such a heaven-defying life-slaying sword, he would never be willing to become Ning Fan's enemy no matter what. Currently, he no longer had any life-saving treasures. With his mid-profound mortal realm cultivation base, he was no different from a mortal in front of Ning Fan. He had no strength to resist at all. You can't kill me. If you kill me, my master will certainly not let you go. As long as you're willing to let me go. Before Si Ming could finish his words, Ning Fan interrupted him coldly. If I don't kill you, your master won't let me go either. Before his voice faded away, his sword had already swung down, directly cutting Si Ming into 2 halves from the middle. That sword light was too fast. It was so fast that Si Ming did not even have the chance to scream before he died with hatred. In the immortal palace of the southern heaven immortal world, the immortal emperor who was playing chess with his eldest disciple with a smile suddenly became furious. He smashed the chessboard in front of him with a palm strike. His eldest disciple was called Si Kong. He was a late thought fragmentation realm cultivator. He wore green robes and looked as gentle as jade. Seeing that his master, who rarely got angry, was actually angry, Si Kong was greatly surprised. He carefully asked, "Master, please calm down. Can you tell me what happened?" Si Ming is dead. The immortal emperor closed his eyes, trying to suppress the anger in his heart and calm himself down. The exposed green veins on his forehead silently showed how angry he was at the moment. What? Junior brother Si Ming is actually dead? This is absolutely impossible. He has the undying devil veins. Even though his cultivation base is low, it's impossible for him to die. Unless he encountered an immortal emperor. Si Kong's eyes darkened. He seemed to have confirmed that the one who killed Si Ming was an immortal emperor. Humph. I really want to see which immortal emperor killed a junior of the human profound realm regardless of his status. Si Ming is an important chess piece of mine. Without him, my dream of controlling Si Ming has become nothing. Hateful. Hateful. Prepare the sacrificial offerings. I want to go to the Star Observatory. No matter who killed Si Ming, they must pay the price. Chapter 887. Inside the passageway of the barbaric flash, after Ning Fan collected Si Ming's storage pouch, he activated the Black Star technique to heal the bloody hole in his chest. At the same time, he performed the soul-searching technique on a skull that had died with grievances. After searching his soul for a while, Ning Fan exerted his palm force and shattered the head into a mist of blood. His eyes were filled with uncertainty. After so many years, he finally found the immortal emperor who schemed against him. After further confirmation, there was no doubt that the enemy was the immortal emperor master of fate. From Si Ming's memories, Ning Fan learned that immortal emperor Luck Master had schemed against thousands of cultivators in his life. Among them, there were vein opening realm juniors and immortal venerables of all ages. Ning Fan was just one of the insignificant ones. I can't believe that immortal emperor fate mastering schemed against me just to make me the Tao corpse of his disciple, Si Ming. Immortal Emperor Fate, one of the 4 great immortal emperors of the southern heaven immortal world. His cultivation base is at the 8th eternal tribulation. Given my cultivation base, it's enough to kill Si Ming, but it's far from enough to take revenge on him. In Si Ming's memory, she also mentioned the special identity of the immortal Emperor Master Luck. He seemed to be inextricably linked to the Wildlands and the Tai Tsung Tribulation Spirit. However, all the memories related to him had been erased by the immortal Emperor Master Luck. This method of erasing memories is clearly the same as the method of erasing my father's memories. There's no way to recover it. That's how my father lost his memories. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with reminiscence. All of a sudden, he clenched his fists tightly and closed his eyes helplessly. He had always been a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Naturally, he would seek revenge from the immortal Emperor Master of Fate, but now that his cultivation base was not high enough, it was not the time for him to seek revenge. He could only endure. One day, I will kill my way to the Fate Master Immortal Palace and settle the old scores with the Fate Master. But before that, it's not good to let the Fate Master Immortal Palace know that I killed his disciple. Green light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. He bent his palm and clawed at the air in front of him. Then, he actually drew out thousands of karmic blood threads from the remaining blood mist in the air. These bloodlines were the karma caused by Ning Fan killing Si Ming. In the past, he naturally could not see the karmic bloodlines. But now, he was already one of the few second-level heaven-being realm cultivators in the world. It was not difficult for him to see the karmic bloodlines. Naturally, with his cultivation base in the crossing truth, he could at most rely on the oneness of heaven and man to see and touch the cause and effect, but he could not strip it away. Fortunately, he still had the innate ghost mask, which had the power to strip away karma. Ning Fan waved his hand and wiped it across his face, summoning the ghost face. He activated the ghost face's power and removed all the karmic bloodlines that were entangling his body. Therefore, no matter how powerful the divination technique of the Celestial Emperor was, he couldn't find out who the culprit was. Ning Fan did not throw away the karmic blood strings that had been stripped away. Instead, they were sealed by the ghost face's power for other purposes. From Si Ming's memories, Ning Fan learned that Immortal Emperor Luck Mastery would always go to the Star Observatory and make 3 deductions before he does anything. It was a habit that he had developed over the years. If he could find out who the murderer was based on his deductions, he would definitely not send someone else to investigate the matter. However, if the Immortal Emperor Mastery Luck couldn't find the culprit, he might use other methods to find the culprit. After understanding this habit of Immortal Emperor Fate Master, Ning Fan came up with a plan. He temporarily kept the sealed karmic bloodlines and scanned Si Ming's storage pouch with his divine sense. Inside the storage pouch were items commonly used by mortal profound cultivators. They were useless to him, but there were a few barbaric flash jade talismans that piqued his interest. The barbaric flash jade talismans could open a passageway to the ancient Wildlands region and return to any of the 4 heavens immortal realms. With these jade talismans, if necessary, I can leave the Wildlands and return to Eastern Heaven. He erased the restrictions on the jade talisman and planted a new one with his blood essence. Only by doing so could he activate the power of the jade talisman. After keeping the puppet and the jade talisman, Ning Fan dispersed his ghostly face and left the passageway. Not long after Ning Fan left, a rainbow-colored eyeball suddenly appeared in the sky of the passageway. The eyeball was filled with rage. As soon as it appeared, the killing intent immediately turned into a 7-colored divine light that spread out in all directions. Unfortunately, the rainbow divine light did not find anyone in the tunnel, so it could not deduce who killed Si Ming. This was the first time the Immortal Emperor Luck Master had tried to deduce the cause and effect, but he failed. Even though Ning Fan did not see the appearance of the rainbow-colored eyeball, he sensed something when the Immortal Emperor Luck Master was deducing the cause and effect. At the peak of the Wind Thunder Mountain in the Immortal Palace of Fortune Master, the Immortal Emperor Luck Master threw the wooden sword in his hand on the incense table after his deduction failed. His expression was filled with shock and anger. Humph! It can actually conceal the cause and effect. I guess the person who killed Si Ming must have some kind of secret treasure that can conceal the cause and effect. I can only deduce once every 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I can only deduce the cause and effect for the second time. Next time, I will use both the barbaric and tribulation power to enhance my deduction. I don't believe I can't deduce the culprit. Outside the Yellow River Snow Valley, 7 void shedders of the demon race had already rushed into the valley. They were fighting against 2Mo, Taya, and the others. Among them, there were 2 peak void shedders, 3 early void shedders and 2 mid void shedders. These demon cultivators were all from the Turtle Clan. They possessed the secret talisman of the Turtle Clan which allowed them to ignore the power of the Blood River and directly enter the Snow Valley. They were the first batch of demons to enter the valley. As for the demon cultivators of the other clans, they could not come to the Snow Valley because of the Blood River. Hence, they were temporarily guarding the outer perimeter of the valley. 2Mo and Daoist Taya each faced a peak void shedder tortoise demon. After all, the 2 of them only had the body of a broken divine sense. Besides, they still needed to maintain the stability of the passage. Thus, they could not defeat their opponents in a short time and could only fight to a draw. The 4-eyed Devil Sovereign had already summoned 3 early Void Shedder Tortoise puppets to fight against 3 early Void Shedder Tortoise demons alone. Controlling 3 Void Shedder puppets at the same time made him feel a little powerless. Fairy Cold Dance, on the other hand, faced 2 mid-Void Shedder Tortoise demons alone. One of them was a tall and skinny old man while the other was a short and plump old woman. The 2 of them were actually a pair of Dao companions. The 2 mid-Void Shedder Tortoise demons had great teamwork. When they worked together, they could even put up a fight against a late Void Shedder Tortoise demon. Fairy Cold Dance was already injured in the first place. Moreover, she had to divert her attention to activate her ability and maintain the activation of the passage. Thus, she was naturally not a match for the 2 tortoise demons. In just a few rounds of fighting, 3 to 4 wounds were left on her body. Even so, Fairy Cold Dance did not forget Ning Fan's request. She always remembered to maintain the stability of the entrance of the passage and wait for Ning Fan's safe return. 70% of her magic power was used to maintain the stability of the entrance while the remaining 30% was used to fight against the 2 mid-Void Shedder Tortoise demons. She could not tell what she was feeling at the moment. It was probably because she wanted to repay Ning Fan for saving her life. If the entrance disappears, Ning Fan would not be able to come out. The tall and skinny old man was a man of few words. He had a cold and indifferent personality. His Dao weapon was a poisonous blade. The short and plump old woman, on the other hand, constantly let out a hoarse and unpleasant laughter. She activated a flying sword made of black mist and attacked Cold Dance's vital parts with each of her attacks. Old poisonous creature, look at this human Void Shedder Tortoise. She looks so delicate. Do you want me to capture her and let her be your poisonous cauldron? No need. Just kill her directly. I only need to extract her primordial spirit to refine my poison. The tall and skinny old man said coldly. Hee hee. That's exactly what I want. I'll give you her primordial spirit to refine your poison. However, her corpse must be left for me to feed to the corpse tortoise. Speaking of which, I don't know what's wrong with this human girl. She's obviously severely injured and her strength is obviously weaker than both of us. However, she still dares to use only 30% of her strength to fight against us. Instead, she left 70% of her strength to stabilize the entrance of the passage. Is there someone important to her inside the entrance? The short and plump old woman let out a sinister laugh. Suddenly, she changed the direction of her flying sword. Instead of attacking Fairy Cold Dance, she slashed at the entrance of the passage, trying to destroy the entrance. Fairy Cold Dance's heart tightened. With a tap of her foot, she stood in front of the entrance of the passage. She waved her moonlight waterfall and deflected the flying sword, protecting the entrance of the passage. However, because of that, she revealed a flaw. The tall and skinny old man seized the opportunity and slashed at her with his poisonous blade, adding another deep wound on her arm. Black blood kept flowing out of the wound. Obviously, she had been poisoned by the demon poison. Damn it. It's actually the secret poison of the corpse tortoise race. Fairy Cold Dance's lips began to turn purple. Traces of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth, carrying a hint of sweet fragrance. Her heart sank. If it wasn't to protect the entrance of the passage, she would certainly not be cut by the poisonous blade. Now that she was poisoned by the secret poison of the corpse tortoise, it was rather troublesome. If she uses all of her magic power, she would be able to force out the demon poison. However, she had no time to do so at the moment. Under the corrosion of the demon poison, her consciousness became blurry and her magic power weakened bit by bit. However, she still did not forget to guard the entrance of the passage for him. Even though she had only met Ning Fan a few times, she did not want him to be in any danger. Perhaps, this feeling of hers was because she wanted to repay him for saving her life. It's unknown whether he's dead or alive after entering this passage. If he loses the entrance, it will be difficult for him to return. His life might be in danger. We must stabilize the entrance. We can't let it disappear. We can't let these two tortoise demons continue to attack the entrance. Fairy Cold Dance's lotus steps became more and more unsteady. Her beautiful face became paler and paler while her breathing became heavier. She was relying on her willpower to support herself and not allow herself to faint. The short and plump old woman smiled coldly. Suddenly, she used a magic treasure made of turtle tendons and bound one of Fairy Cold Dance's wrists. Then, she wielded her sword and pierced her dantian. No. Not good. Fairy Cold Dance could not break free from the restraint of the turtle tendons. Seeing that she was about to be pierced by the old woman, she was feeling nervous. All of a sudden, a golden light flashed in front of her and a white-robed figure appeared. She immediately felt relieved and smiled. It's him. He has returned safely. The old woman who was aiming at Fairy Cold Dance with her sword was naturally shocked when she saw a white-robed figure appearing in front of her. Before she could react, she was already forced back by the Dao sword that the white-robed young man slashed out. Her expression immediately turned grim. That white-robed young man was none other than Ning Fan, who had returned from the passage of the barbaric flash. With another slash, he cut off the turtle tendons that were binding Fairy Cold Dance. As soon as they saw Ning Fan's return, 2Mo and Taya were overjoyed. They knew that strong reinforcements had appeared. The expressions of the 7 Shikong demons changed. At this moment, Ning Fan had yet to seal the power of the rain and the war god art. He had only dispersed the soul-extracting technique, which he could not maintain for a long time, and the secret techniques of the war god art. His aura force was still comparable to that of the Shikong demons. None of them dared to underestimate him. Are your injuries all right? Fairy Cold Dance said to Ning Fan. Her tone was flat and clear, but Ning Fan could hear a hint of concern in her voice. Ning Fan was severely injured by the star-scattered chess piece. Even though the bloody hole in his chest had healed, his chi had yet to recover to its peak state. This did not escape Fairy Cold Dance's eyes at all. I'm fine. I'll just block the two of them. You rest at the side and suppress the demon poison in your body. Ning Fan sighed softly. If he was one step late, even if Fairy Cold Dance did not die, she would have been severely injured by the old woman's turtle demon sword. With Ning Fan's eyesight, he could naturally see that Fairy Cold Dance had split her magic power in order to stabilize the passage of the barbaric flash. That was why she was defeated so quickly. Even if this lady knows how to repay his kindness, she did not seem to need to risk her life like this. Old woman, be careful. Even though this young man's Shikong cultivation base was raised using a secret technique and he is not the true Shikong, his abilities are not weak. You can't underestimate him. The thin and tall old man who had been silent all this while looked at Ning Fan solemnly and suddenly said. Old poisonous creature, you are too cautious. Even if this young man uses a secret technique, his strength is only at the early Shikong demon realm. It's not worth mentioning. You deal with this young man. I will go and kill that little girl first. The short and plump old woman smiled sinisterly and took the lead to activate her ability. The black mist flying sword in her hand immediately turned into the shadow of a giant turtle and dashed towards Fairy Cold Dance. She did not plan to give Fairy Cold Dance any chance to force the demon poison out of her body. While she was attacking Fairy Cold Dance, she also shot out a ray of black cold light at Ning Fan's glabella. It was a poisonous turtle-tooth nail. If this nail pierces through the glabella, even a mid-Shikong demon realm cultivator would have his Niwen sealed and die. The reason why she diverted her attention to plot against Ning Fan was because she did not put him in her eyes. However, she did not know that Ning Fan also did not put her in his eyes. Time was running out. Ning Fan still had other matters to attend to. Thus, he did not want to stay in this place for too long. Thus, he directly took out the thought-breaking puppet. There was a puppet in front of Ning Fan. The poisonous turtle-tooth nail only pierced into the puppet slightly and did not cause any substantial damage to it. With a thought in his mind, a multicolored net immediately appeared between heaven and earth, trapping the old woman within it. Only the old woman's sword light penetrated the net and continued to slash at Fairy Cold Dance. The puppet tilted its body and threw a punch. That punch immediately formed an unimaginably strong wind, easily shattering the short and plump old woman's flying sword. Then, it threw another punch directly through the multicolored net, sending the old woman flying away while coughing out blood. Even her turtle bones were broken. When the third punch landed, the puppet directly destroyed half of the old woman's head. Fresh blood flowed and dyed the ground red. When the puppet threw another punch, the old woman's demon soul did not even have the chance to escape. She was directly killed by the puppet within the multicolored net, leaving not even her bones behind. None of the Shikong demon realm cultivators present expected that Ning Fan would have such a terrifying puppet. With just a few punches, it killed a mid-Shikong demon realm cultivator. The puppet's mid-thought fragmentation realm chi made all the demon cultivators shudder. Their expressions changed greatly. Earth Devil and Taoist Iron Crow had already seen Ning Fan's thought fragmentation puppet before. Naturally, they would not find it strange. However, it was the Four-Eyed Devil Monarch and Fairy Han Wu's first time seeing this puppet. Both of them were quite surprised. With Ning Fan and the thought fragmentation puppet participating in the battle, Earth Devil and Taoist Iron Crow's confidence was greatly boosted. The remaining 6 Shikong demon tortoises were eliminated by them without any suspense. None of them managed to escape. Earth Devil, you seem to know an earth escape technique called Earth Cave, right? Bring them away first and wait for me at this place. Green light flashed across Ning Fan's eyes. He glanced at Earth Devil. Just a single glance seemed to have seen through him. Ning Fan casually tossed a jade slip with a map to Earth Devil. His tone left no room for refusal. When Ning Fan's gaze landed on him, Earth Devil was inwardly shocked. He felt as if he was being seen through. Then, he nodded his head. He did not have the intention to disobey Ning Fan's order. Old Monster Earth had once used a type of earth cave technique to bring everyone into the Snow Valley. It was extremely secretive. That earth cave escape technique was actually Earth Devil's signature ability. With this ability, it would not be difficult for Earth Devil to bring everyone out of the Snow Valley without anyone noticing. Aren't you going to evacuate with us? Fairy Han Wu's beautiful eyes were filled with worry. I have some matters to attend to. I will meet up with all of you later. Ning Fan did not explain too much. What he needed to do was to solve the problem of the karmic bloodline. It was a matter of great importance. Even though he had a good impression of Fairy Han Wu, it was not enough for him to tell her all of his secrets. I understand. Little friend Ning, be careful. After you are done with your matters, meet up with me and the others as soon as possible. Fairy Han Wu let out a faint sigh. She also understood that it was impossible for them to talk too much since they were not close. It was the right thing for Ning Fan to hold back from her. However, for some unknown reason, she still felt an inexplicable sourness in her heart. In the end, she followed Earth Devil and the others and used the Earth Cave technique to quietly leave the barrier of the Yellow River. After everyone left, Ning Fan kept his spiritual puppets and summoned Ghostface with a wave of his hand. His silver hair danced wildly in the air. Stepping on a golden rainbow, he soared into the sky and flew across the Blood River. After activating Ghostface's invisibility, he directly smashed the barrier of the Yellow River and left. Many experts of the demon race noticed the collapse of the barrier. However, Ning Fan immediately activated Ghostface's invisibility. Thus, no one knew what happened. At the same time, the entire ancient wild region began to rain heavily. That rainstorm was caused by Ning Fan's heaven-peaking rain technique. With the help of the heaven-peaking rain technique, Ning Fan quickly found traces of old ancestor poisonous dragon in the 4th region of the wild region. Without any hesitation, Ning Fan moved stealthily all the way to the 4th region. In the demon army's main tent in the 4th region of the 42 regions of the wild region. At this moment, old ancestor poisonous dragon was sitting cross-legged in the main tent of the military camp at the front line. His eyes were closed as he adjusted his breathing. He had already heard about the incident that happened in the Yellow River Snow Valley. However, he did not take it to heart and only sent some people to support the Snow Valley. His current responsibility was to watch over the main tent of the demon army. Thus, he could not leave easily. While he was adjusting his breathing, it started to rain heavily outside the tent. The downpour was like a torrential downpour, and the sound of the rain was disorderly. It caused him to have an inexplicable feeling of apprehension, as if something bad was about to happen. What old ancestor poisonous dragon did not know was that Ning Fan had already activated Ghostface's invisibility at this very moment and was already 1000 zhang away from the main tent. The distance of 1000 zhang was already Ning Fan's limit. If he goes any closer, old ancestor poisonous dragon would still notice him even with Ghostface's invisibility. Old man poisonous dragon, you shot me with the candle bow and the 7-colored arrow that day. Today, I will return you a great gift. Ning Fan waved his hand and took out the karmic blood strings that were sealed. After unsealing them, he tossed them towards old ancestor poisonous dragon's tent. As soon as those blood strings got close to the main tent, old ancestor poisonous dragon immediately noticed them. Unfortunately, it was already too late when he wanted to dodge them. He was already entangled by those karmic blood strings. These are karmic blood strings? Strange. I haven't killed anyone yet. Why would I attract karmic blood strings? Strange. It's really strange. Old ancestor poisonous dragon muttered to himself. Suddenly, his old eyes turned gloomy. He activated his reverse spirit technique and scanned across the demon army's camp. However, he did not find anything unusual. He could not help but frown. Is there no outsider sneaking into the main tent? Is it just my illusion? Then, Patriarch Poison Dragon closed his eyes again and meditated. What he did not know was that he had already been tainted with the karma of killing Si Ming and he had already become Ning Fan's scapegoat. In a faraway place, Ning Fan was standing on top of a short mountain. His 10 fingers were forming a series of hand seals to activate the rain technique while observing every movement in the demon army's camp. Ning Fan sensed Immortal Emperor Luck Wielding's first karma deduction. If Ning Fan's prediction was correct, Immortal Emperor Luck Master would perform the second and third divination not long after that. The first time Immortal Emperor Luck Wielding deduced karma, his karma was stripped and sealed by Ning Fan. That was why his deduction failed. This time, Ning Fan had already unsealed the karma and it tainted old ancestor poisonous dragon. If the Immortal Emperor Master of Fate were to calculate again, he would most likely get the same result. The one who killed Si Ming was Patriarch Poison Dragon of the true dragon race. This was, of course, the result that Ning Fan hoped to see the most. Old ancestor poisonous dragon was his enemy while Immortal Emperor Luck Master was also his enemy. It couldn't be better for the two of them to fight against each other. Old ancestor poisonous dragon was kept in the dark while Immortal Emperor Luck Master was also clueless about it. After a moment, Immortal Emperor Luck Master summoned wind and lightning on the Wind Thunder Mountain again and began his divination. During the second divination, 2 heads grew out of Immortal Emperor Luck Master's neck one after another. If someone was here, they would certainly notice that the 2 heads that Immortal Emperor Luck Master had were exactly the same as the heads that the 7th generation barbaric ancestor had in the past. However, there was one difference between Immortal Emperor Luck Master and the 7th generation barbaric ancestor. Immortal Emperor Luck Master had a 3rd head which was his original head. There was also tribulation blood flowing in his body. The power of tribulation sense was also used by him in the divination. This time, he integrated the power of tribulation sense and the barbaric flash into his divination. Its accuracy was several times better than the first time. In the 4th region of the ancient wild region, a rainbow-colored eyeball suddenly appeared in the sky above the demon army camp. The eyeball scanned the area with divine light and immediately found old ancestor Poisonous Dragon in the central tent. Its eyes turned grim and full of killing intent. The true dragon race. Son of the Poisonous Dragon. I didn't expect that the one who killed Si Ming wasn't an immortal emperor but an immortal venerable of the demon race. Good, good, good. You killed my disciple. I'll make sure your dragon's soul falls forever. At the peak of the Wind Thunder Mountain in the immortal palace of the southern heaven celestial world. Immortal Emperor Luck Master slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were filled with ferocity. At this moment, the demon army camp in the 4th region of the wildlands was in an uproar. Countless demon cultivators looked up at the sky and looked at the rainbow-colored eyeball in fear. Old ancestor Poisonous Dragon rushed out of the tent and looked up in shock. He could sense a killing intent from the rainbow-colored eyeball. It was locked onto him. If he was not mistaken, the killing intent came from an 8th tribulation great emperor of the human race. Before old ancestor Poisonous Dragon could react, the rainbow-colored eyeball suddenly shot out thousands of rays of divine light. In the next instant, a rainbow-colored blood mark appeared on old ancestor Poisonous Dragon's forehead. The moment the blood mark appeared, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon's demonic energy was suppressed by more than 30%. This is the blood mark of a sovereign. Only an immortal sovereign can plant a tracing mark on a cultivator. Under normal circumstances, an immortal sovereign can only plant a blood mark on a few cultivators at the same time. Once this mark is planted, no one can escape the detection of the immortal sovereign even if they hide in the sky or underground. Moreover, this mark also has the effect of suppressing one's cultivation base. Even with old ancestor Poisonous Dragon's immortal venerated realm, his cultivation base is still suppressed by 30%. This blood mark is really impressive. Ning Fan's eyes flashed as he recognized the origin of the blood mark. After all, the Wildlands was a medium-sized world. No matter how strong the immortal Emperor Luck Master was, he was not a sage after all. It was impossible for him to travel across countless worlds to kill an immortal venerated realm. Therefore, the immortal Emperor Luck Master settled for the next best thing and planted a blood mark on old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. As long as the blood mark remained, the immortal Emperor Luck Master had plenty of time to hunt down old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. At this moment, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon's expression was filled with fear. He wanted to cry but had no tears. His heart was filled with grievance. He did not understand what he had done at all. How did he provoke an 8th tribulation great emperor of the human race to plant a sovereign's blood mark on him? Not good. This is the sovereign's blood mark. I've been targeted by an 8th tribulation immortal emperor. I can't stay in the wildlands any longer. I must return to the land of demon spirits immediately. It's too dangerous to stay here. That 8th tribulation immortal emperor might come to the wildlands to find trouble with me at any time. Damn it. Damn it. Why did an 8th tribulation immortal emperor target me? Who can tell me what exactly is going on? On the stargazing platform of the Wind Thunder Mountain, the immortal Emperor Luck Master closed his eyes. His initial anger was gradually calming down. His rationality gradually returned. Suddenly, he had a strange feeling. He felt that something was wrong. However, when he thought about it carefully, he could not see what was wrong. No. There's something wrong with this karma. The one who killed the arbiter of fate is not Du Longzi. Someone is trying to frame him and deceive me. It seems like I need to borrow the power of the karma chessboard to perform the third deduction. You won't be able to escape from the person who killed the arbiter of fate. Chapter 888. Immortal Emperor Fate Master dispersed his three-headed avatar and pondered. He was confident that he could deduce the real cause and effect with the help of the karma chessboard. However, he had to awaken the chessboard's artifact spirit first before he could use it. That artifact spirit was a problem that had troubled him for many years. When I killed Taitsung Jialing, I obtained a beast called Karma. Ever since I hid in the illusionary world, I used the Karma beast as the artifact spirit to refine the karma chessboard. I obtained a total of 72 black and white chess pieces. The white chess pieces control fate while the black chess pieces control fate. This old man has already completed the 36 white chess pieces. With this old man has achieved the position of fate controller. However, I've only completed 6 of the 36 black chess pieces. The reason why it's so difficult to complete the black chess pieces is because the karma beast doesn't cooperate. Immortal Emperor Fate Master frowned and raised his hand to point at the sky. Black and white immediately intersected in the sky where wind and lightning intertwined, forming a huge black and white chessboard. There were a total of 36 white chess pieces and 6 black chess pieces on the chessboard. In each chess piece, there was a chess soul with scarlet eyes that was filled with resentment. Every single one of the 36 white chess souls had astounding providence. At the very least, they all had 6-colored celestial luck. The 6 black chess souls were either in the shape of a human or a beast. All of them were ferocious beasts with fierce lives and their cultivation bases were above the ancient times. If Immortal Emperor Fate Master could complete the black chess pieces, he would have controlled the fate of heaven and earth. Unfortunately, the karma beast looked down on him and only helped him complete 6 black chess pieces. From the 7th black chess piece onwards, it stopped helping him. Immortal Emperor Fate Master originally wanted to use his own strength to nurture a Si Ming to become the 7th black chess piece. He wanted to use his undying evil veins to suppress the karma beast and make it yield, but Si Ming was killed. He already had a candidate for the ferocious cultivators who were suitable to become black chess pieces, but without Si Ming, the 7th chess piece, those candidates were meaningless. Karma beast, quickly show yourself and meet me. Immortal Emperor Fate Master shouted at the sky and sent a voice transmission to the bottom of the Wind Thunder Mountain. A moment later, the bottom of the Wind Thunder Mountain Observatory was filled with blood and screams. Tens of thousands of lives were sacrificed by his disciple, Si Kong, to awaken the karma beast. The blood-red light was like flowing water, dyeing the void a strange red. In the sky above the chessboard, the shadow of a strange beast slowly appeared. The moment the strange beast appeared, the karmic power of the world immediately began to tremble. The chess souls on the karma chessboard prostrated themselves on the ground as if they were extremely afraid of the beast. It was a strange beast that seemed like both a lion and a dog. Its body was covered in snow-white long fur, and its body emanated the radiance of the great Tao that was dazzling and resplendent. Its eyes were scarlet red, yet its intelligence wasn't high, and it couldn't understand human speech. This strange beast was the karma beast. The karma beast yawned sleepily. It glanced at Zhang Yun and then closed its eyes in disdain. It lay in the air and continued to sleep. Immortal Emperor Fate was a human emperor, but in the eyes of the karma beast, he was no different from a speck of dust. It could see the karma of Immortal Emperor Fate, and it knew that one day, the emperor would fall. Compared to its previous master, he was as insignificant as a speck of dust. How arrogant was the Immortal Emperor Master of Fate! His expression immediately darkened after being looked down upon by an animal. However, Immortal Emperor Fate also understood that the karma beast had its reasons for looking down on him. There were only 108,000 karma beasts in the world, and they only existed in the tribulation god of the upper realm. They despised the common people and were the guardians of the tribulation god. The previous master of the karma beast could be said to be the tribulation god. Compared to the tribulation god, immortal Emperor Fate was naturally as insignificant as a speck of dust. This beast can't understand human speech, and its intelligence is low. However, its personality is extremely arrogant. No matter how much I tried to persuade and coerce, it still refused to help me complete the black pieces. It always looked down on me. How hateful. If this beast wasn't an indispensable artifact spirit of the karma chessboard, I wouldn't have kept it until today. Immortal Emperor Fate, Master of Fate, coldly glanced at the karma beast and then waved his hand to grab it. The beast immediately turned into a string of snow-white prayer beads that fell into his palm. Immortal Emperor Fate, Master of Fate, sat cross-legged on a cattail hassock. He moved the prayer beads and began the third deduction. At the foot of the Wind Thunder Mountain, Si Kong raised his head and looked at the stargazing platform with fiery eyes. There were 5 other Dao children standing behind him. Their cultivation levels varied from Duzhen to Shikong. All of them were the disciples of Fate, Master of Fate. All of them had dabbled in the Tao of divination. To them, it was a great fortune to be able to witness Immortal Emperor Fate Master's deduction of karma with their own eyes. Is that the karma beast that Master is raising? What a terrifying power of karma. It can actually transform into karma sense beads. Even though Master has made many mistakes in his deduction in the past 200 years, if he takes out the karma chessboard and transforms the karma sense beads, there will be very few things in this world that Master cannot divine. Even if the one who killed Si Ming is an immortal emperor, he won't be able to escape Master's divination. In the wild ancient region. With the help of the heaven-peering rain technique, Ning Fan secretly observed the actions of the demons. His brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Even though he had already tainted old ancestor Du Long with his karma, the uneasiness in his heart kept increasing. On the peak of a small mountain in an uninhabited valley, the rainstorm was pouring down like a waterfall. When the raindrops fell in front of Ning Fan, they automatically avoided the trajectory of the raindrops. Ning Fan's face was covered with a ghost mask. His eyes were filled with uncertainty. He used his finger to cut off a lock of silver hair and activated his ability. He was actually divining something. Ning Fan was not proficient in the Tao of divination. However, after opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm, Ning Fan's integration with heaven and earth became closer. Even if he does not cultivate divination techniques, he could still divine some heavenly secrets. After some divination, the silver hair in Ning Fan's hands suddenly combusted without any fire and turned into ashes. He could only carry out a simple divination. The result of his divination was only one sentence. Karma is hard to sever. A great calamity is coming. Ning Fan's eyes instantly turned solemn. How could he not know that his act of framing old ancestor Du Long did not escape the eyes of immortal Emperor Fate Master? He gradually noticed that the heavenly secrets on his body were trembling slightly. He had a feeling that he was being divined by someone. As expected of the great emperor who controls fate. It seems like it won't be easy to hide from this person's divination. Is this person carrying out the third divination on me? This time, his divination is really powerful. Even though I have separated my karma, he can still vaguely find me. It's not enough to conceal this divination with just the innate ghost mask alone. If I have other innate treasures, I might be able to borrow a trace of innate power to disrupt the heavenly secrets again and conceal my karma. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. Innate treasures. He did not only have one innate ghost mask. Innate magic treasures were extremely rare in the world. Even immortal emperors did not have many of them. Ning Fan's luck was heaven-defying. Having an innate ghost mask was not enough. He still had a gourd that could be used to refine innate treasures. Apart from that, he also had the yin-yang dual steels, which were also ranked among the innate treasures. The yin-yang dual steels guarded the east and west worlds of the profound Yin world. They were innate magic treasures that Ning Fan obtained after fusing the two locks. With his current cultivation base, he could not summon the dual steels from the profound Yin world. However, if he enters the profound Yin world, he could borrow the power of the dual steels. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with determination. With a sway of his body, he entered the boundary of the profound Yin world and flew to the peak of the 9 heavens sea of clouds. Then, he activated his divine ability. The 2 yin-yang steels that were as tall as the sky immediately flew from different directions. They crossed the layers of clouds and merged into one. Ning Fan sat cross-legged on the dual steels. His eyes flashed with green light. His 10 fingers formed a series of hand seals and his fingers moved like phantoms. His mind gradually sank into the dual steels. He mobilized the power of the steels to protect the heavenly secrets around him. At a certain moment, a rainbow-colored eyeball suddenly appeared in the sky of the profound Yin world. As soon as the rainbow-colored eyeball appeared, Ning Fan suddenly stood up from the dual steels before it could open. He made a grabbing motion with his hand. His innate power immediately condensed into a 1000 zhang sword light and slashed at the sky. That slash did not produce any sharp sword chime, but it was enough to directly sever the heavenly secrets. As soon as the sword light fell, the rainbow-colored eyeball was immediately cut into 2 halves. Blood splattered across the sky. It did not even have the chance to open its eyes. On the peak of the Wind Thunder Mountain, the immortal emperor who controls fate suddenly felt a sharp pain in his right eye and blood flowed out. His right eye was not blinded, but it was severely injured. As I expected. The one who killed Si Ming isn't Du Longzi. Even though I can't sense his identity, I can sense the power of 2 innate treasures from his body. It was with the power of these 2 treasures that he managed to destroy my rainbow-colored eyeball. Besides, he doesn't seem to be in the desolate land. Instead, he's in a middle thousand worlds that I've never seen before. Is he a world treasure? In the illusory world, there aren't many cultivators who can possess 2 innate magic treasures. All of them are immortal emperors. Since this person possesses 2 innate magic treasures, it's highly possible that he's an immortal emperor. However, there's also another possibility. This person's luck is far beyond his level. Even though he's not an immortal emperor, he has already defied the heavens and obtained 2 innate magic treasures. The immortal emperor's eyes turned solemn. He waved his hand and rubbed his right eye. The bloodstain was immediately wiped away and his right eye became undamaged again. As soon as he thought of something, green light flashed in his eyes. I'm a cultivator at the 1st level of the heavenly being realm. Besides, my cultivation base is already close to breaking through to the 2nd level of the heavenly being realm. Together with the power of the heavenly being realm, it's enough to penetrate the protection of this person's innate magic treasures and extract his heavenly secrets for divination. Water Mirror Technique. The immortal emperor luck-wielding pointed his finger forward. A green water mirror immediately appeared in front of him. He reached his palm into the water mirror and scooped it up. It was as if he was holding the karma of the entire heaven and earth. At the same time, 7-colored mist rolled down from the sky of the profound Yin world like surging waves. At the center of the mist, a gigantic vortex gradually appeared. At the center of the vortex was a green mirror lake that hung upside down in the sky. All of a sudden, a 10,000 zhang large green arm flew out from the center of the lake. As soon as the arm appeared, the entire heaven and earth began to tremble. In the Eastern world, many human cauldrons sensed the tremors but they did not know what was happening. The arm was covered with wrinkles. Its skin and flesh were dry but it was strong and powerful, as if it could control the universe. As soon as the arm appeared, it clenched its 5 fingers and grabbed at the sea of clouds where Ning Fan was. His eyes flashed with green light. How could he not tell that the gigantic green hand was the manifestation of the heavenly being Green Qi? At this moment, he seemed to have an illusion. What was falling from the sky was not the gigantic Green Qi hand but the entire heaven and earth instead. As expected of the old man Fate Master, he actually managed to infuse the heavenly being Green Qi into his deduction and form a divine ability. If I can't block this technique, I will certainly be robbed of the heavenly secrets by this divine ability and see through everything. Unfortunately, this gigantic hand is just the manifestation of the green chi of the first level of the heavenly being realm, while I am at the second level of the heavenly being realm. This technique is useless against me. Green light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes continuously. He stepped on the sea of clouds and suddenly raised his head, glaring at the gigantic hand in the sky. Just a gaze from him actually carried the might of heaven and earth, which was much heavier than the gigantic hand. It slowed down the attack of the gigantic hand and actually dared not to fall on Ning Fan. Ning Fan smiled coldly like a devil. He opened his mouth and swallowed the gigantic hand. Immediately, the gigantic hand broke into countless traces of green chi which went into his stomach and vanished into thin air. The devil nature in his eyes became even stronger. Ever since he encountered Su Mo, his heart of devil cultivation had also awakened once again. Ning Fan had already seen through the immortal Emperor Fate Master's green chi technique. A cultivator at the second level of the celestial being realm could deduce magical powers with a wave of his hand and create his own profound techniques. It was not difficult to learn and sell the immortal Emperor's water mirror technique on the spot. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he could not open his own water mirror. However, he could go against the path of the mirror lake that immortal Emperor Fate Master had set up and counterattack. Ning Fan covered his fist with green chi. His aura force was like a strong gust of wind. His silver hair danced wildly in the wind as he threw a punch at the mirror lake that was hanging upside down in the sky. The fist radiance smashed into the mirror lake, immediately shattering it and scattering the rainbow-colored mist in the sky. At the peak of the thunderstorm mountain, the water mirror in front of immortal Emperor Fate suddenly shattered. The moment it shattered, an endless amount of green energy converged into a fist light that flew straight towards the immortal Emperor Fate. There was no way to dodge. The might of heaven and earth around the Wind Thunder Mountain was all condensed into this fist. It was as if Ning Fan's fist was the only thing left in the entire world. It was Ning Fan's first time retaliating against immortal Emperor Luck Wielding in his life. There was a trace of will that vowed to harm immortal Emperor Luck Wielding. This fist was not aimed at a person, but at the heaven's will. It heavily landed on the immortal Emperor's body, but it didn't cause any physical damage. In just a split second, it shattered all of the heaven's will power on the Emperor's body. Immortal Emperor Fate, who was channeling his water mirror technique, immediately turned pale and coughed out a mouthful of golden blood. That golden blood was clearly the essence blood of his primordial spirit. This punch actually caused a backlash because it disrupted his deduction and injured the foundation of his primordial spirit. At the foot of Mount Wind Thunder, Si Ming and the other 5 Daoist children were shocked. They had followed Zhang Yun for many years, but this was the first time they saw Zhang Yun coughing blood. The Celestial Emperor Master of Fate was also shocked. If he was not mistaken, the person who killed Si Ming was a cultivator at the second level of the Celestial Being Realm. He was not a cultivator of the second level. Thus, he naturally did not know that Ning Fan had opened the second door. As far as he could remember, there were only a handful of second-level heavenly beings in the entire illusionary world, and all of them were demi-sages. The one who killed Si Ming wasn't an immortal emperor, but a quasi-saint. Other things can be faked, but the second level of celestial being can't be faked. The one who is going against me is actually a quasi-saint. Cough cough. In the illusionary world, not all quasi-saints could open the second door of the celestial being realm. However, those who could open the second door were undoubtedly quasi-saints. Immortal Emperor Master of Fate naturally would not think that there would be cultivators who were not immortal emperors who could open the second door of the celestial being realm. After coughing out another mouthful of primordial spirit golden blood, Immortal Emperor Master of Fate's face turned extremely gloomy. With his various means, he could still take his revenge even if the one who killed Si Ming was an immortal emperor. However, if the other party was a quasi-saint who had opened the second door, then he would have to think carefully about his revenge. Oh, so it's a quasi-saint. Hee hee. What a quasi-saint. You killed my disciple and bullied the weak. How shameless. Even if I have to pay a price today, I still want to see what kind of quasi-saint you are. Karma Beast. Give me your power. Immortal Emperor Master of Fate's eyes widened in anger. He tossed the karma sense bead in his hand into the sky and performed a hand seal. His face immediately turned pale. Obviously, he had to pay a huge price to borrow the power of the karma beast. At the same time, black and white intersected at the peak of the profound in-world sea of clouds. The image of an ancient chessboard appeared. The chessboard trapped Ning Fan within it. At the center of the chessboard, a gigantic shadow of a lion hound with a snow-white body slowly appeared. It was none other than the karma beast. As soon as the karma beast appeared, it immediately yawned lazily. Its eyes were filled with disdain. Then, it glanced at Ning Fan as if nothing had happened. Its eyes were always filled with disdain. It could see everyone's karma and see everyone's past and future. The karma it saw couldn't be told to others, so it couldn't tell the fate controller Immortal Emperor that his fate was to be killed by others. His success was due to the fate controller, and his failure was also due to the fate controller. It saw the weak future of Immortal Emperor Fate's unwilling death, so it naturally looked down on him. It also looked down on Ning Fan because it could see the cause in Ning Fan's body. That cause came from the rain world, and it was an extremely weak world. Up until today, Ning Fan was merely Duzhen. Thus, he was unable to attract the attention of the karma beast. However, the next moment, the karma beast saw Ning Fan's fruit. The fruit continued to extend forward, boundless and without end. That fruit continued to lead to endless darkness. Along the way, it was filled with white bones and massacres. That fruit gradually exceeded its expectations. It could no longer see where Ning Fan's final destination would be in this life. Ever since it became a tool spirit, the lazy karma beast showed an expression of fear for the first time. When it met Ning Fan's cold eyes, the karma beast was almost paralyzed on the ground. Its fur bristled and it could not help but tremble. After a while, it shattered its virtual image and fled from this place. It was extremely afraid of Ning Fan. At the peak of the Wind Thunder Mountain, the Immortal Emperor Fate Controller's eyes suddenly shrunk. He looked at the sky in disbelief. The karma sense beads that were originally hovering in midair suddenly broke apart and turned back into the gigantic shadow of the karma beast. The karma beast's expression was filled with fear. The Immortal Emperor Fate Controller could not imagine what the karma beast had seen that made it so terrified. This beast has always been arrogant. Even when it saw me, it had never been afraid of me. However, it was afraid of that person like a tiger. What exactly is that person's background? The Immortal Emperor Fate Controller had no way of knowing what the karma beast had seen. The only thing he could do was to use the beast's eyes to see Ning Fan's ghost face and silver hair. He had silver hair and opened the second gate of the heavenly being realm. Is there such a quasi-saint in the illusory realm? Without a doubt, that ghost face was an innate ghost face. The first thing the Immortal Emperor Fate Controller thought of was the Slaughter Palace. However, he quickly denied it. In the Slaughter Palace, the only person who had an innate ghost face was Sha Di. Sha Di was neither a quasi-saint nor a heavenly being realm cultivator. Other than the Slaughter Palace, there seemed to be another force that had an innate ghost face, the clan leader of the Southern Heaven secret clan, Hua Do. Could you be the one who killed Si Ming? The Immortal Emperor Fate Controller took a deep breath and his expression gradually calmed down. If it was really Hua Do who killed Si Ming, then he couldn't act rashly. He still had a plan against the Southern Heaven secret clan. According to what the Immortal Emperor Fate Controller knew, the Southern Heaven secret clan had been eyeing the sacred sword of heavenly desolation of the Slaughter Palace in the Eastern Heaven. This old man's original plan was to watch the Calamity clan and the Slaughter Palace fight until both sides suffered heavy losses. Then, I would secretly seize the sword. Before I achieve my goal, I shouldn't take revenge on Hua Do. It's not a good thing to attract the attention of this clan. This sword is an indispensable item in this old man's plan. Even if it's for this sword, this old man has to endure this humiliation. The Immortal Emperor Fate Controller closed his eyes unwillingly. When he opened them again, there was no longer any expression on his face. All his emotions had been restrained. Si Ming was already dead. It wasn't good to mess up his plan because of her. Of course, the immortal Emperor Fate Controller had already remembered this grudge. Once he obtained the sacred sword of heavenly desolation, he would definitely settle this score with the Calamity clan. Speaking of which, he had once placed a chess piece in the Calamity clan. It was a person who had been enslaved by the 8th black chess piece. Although he couldn't attack the Calamity clan openly, he could do something secretly. Si Kong. Contact the 8th chess piece secretly and send this order to him. I'm going into seclusion to recuperate immediately. I've already divined that the demon race will destroy the wild wasteland in a few days. There's no need for all of you to go there and die. There's no need to investigate the matter regarding Si Ming anymore. No one is allowed to mention what happened today again. In the Profoundine world, Ning Fan looked at the shadow of the karma beast that was fleeing for its life with a deep frown on his face. He did not know what kind of beast it was. He also did not understand why it would flee for its life after glancing at him. The only thing he could feel was that after the beast left, he no longer had the feeling that he was being divined. Moreover, the uneasiness in his heart had completely vanished. Ning Fan chopped off another part of his silver hair and used the heavenly being green chi to perform the divination. To his surprise, he got another result. Diverting the trouble to someone else, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Ning Fan did not know the true meaning of this sentence. However, he could vaguely guess that the immortal Emperor Fate Controller seemed to have dispelled his killing intent towards him for some reason. Diverting the trouble to someone else. Has the old man's killing intent been diverted to another place? Ning Fan frowned and muttered to himself. Of course, he did not know that his action of disrupting the 3rd divination had caused the immortal Emperor Fate Controller to make a wrong judgment and shift his hatred to the Southern Heaven Calamity clan. The Calamity clan was one of the 10 great secret clans. They were the mortal enemies of the Slaughter Palace. Since Ning Fan did not know this, he naturally did not understand what it meant to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Even though the crisis had passed, he did not feel relaxed at all. Instead, he closed his eyes dejectedly and sighed. Even though he was lucky enough to avoid the fatal calamity of the immortal Emperor Fate Controller, and even though his first counterattack had injured the immortal Emperor Fate Controller, he was still hiding after all. Not enough. It's still not enough. If I have the cultivation base of an immortal Emperor realm, why would I be afraid of the immortal Emperor Fate Controller? I can just kill my way to the Southern Heaven. My cultivation base is still not enough. After deducing a few more times and confirming that the crisis was really gone, Ning Fan kept the ghost face and returned to the Heavenly Man City. When he returned, the sky was already dark. At this moment, in the Zhao mansion of the Heavenly Man City, Earth Devil, Daoist Taya and the 4-eyed Devil Sovereign were standing in the courtyard with their heads lowered, ignoring the tense atmosphere in the front hall. In the front hall, Lu Yen and Zhao Dai were looking at Fairy Cold Dance with vigilance. Even though Zhao Dai had met Fairy Cold Dance and the 4-eyed Devil Sovereign before, they could not help but be vigilant when they suddenly appeared when Ning Fan was not around. The immortal Loli, on the other hand, was looking at Fairy Cold Dance curiously while munching on the lightning pill like a bean. Fairy Cold Dance was not annoyed even though the little Loli was looking at her curiously. After all, she had already heard that this lady was Ning Fan's daughter. Does he already have a daughter? What did he go to do? He hasn't returned yet. Could it be that something happened to him? Fairy Cold Dance calmly circulated her spiritual chi to heal her injuries. However, her beautiful eyes flashed with worry from time to time. She was worried about Ning Fan's safety. For some reason, the scene of her meeting Ning Fan for a short while kept appearing in her mind. The first time she met Ning Fan was on the pleasure boat in Bianliang City. She treated Ning Fan coldly and did not look him in the eye. However, after Ning Fan repelled Old Monster 2 with a palm strike, she finally began to look him in the eye. However, she did not have any extra feelings towards him. When she met Ning Fan again, she entered the Yellow River Maze with him. When she was in danger, she was caught by Ning Fan's bewitching technique. The numb feeling made her feel so ashamed that she wanted to hide her face. She was very grateful for Ning Fan's help. However, when she recalled the numb feeling when she was under the bewitching technique, she blushed a little. After that, Ning Fan saved her again from Kei Shenxi's scheme. If it wasn't for Ning Fan, she would already be dead. She felt grateful towards Ning Fan. However, there seemed to be some extra care and concern in her gratitude. The scene changed. Suddenly, she recalled Ning Fan's words that sounded a little distant. Ning Fan left alone. Obviously, he wanted to do some secret things. However, he did not tell her about it. It was obvious that he was trying to distance himself from her. When she thought of this, she felt a little depressed for some reason. She let out a faint sigh. He should be safe. Before Fairy Hanwu could finish her sigh, her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. At this moment, be it Lu Yen or Zhao Dai, their beautiful eyes lit up. As for immortal Loli, she immediately cheered and threw herself into the arms of a white-robed young man who was slowly walking into the front hall. Father, you're finally back. Xian Xian missed you so much. I'm back. Ning Fan stroked immortal Loli's silvery hair. However, his brows were slightly knitted as he looked outside the hall. Unknowingly, the black snow which was getting lighter and lighter began to fall again tonight. The uneasiness that immortal Emperor Master Luck brought to him had disappeared. However, a new feeling of uneasiness came. Today was destined to be a sad and helpless day for old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. Even though he was an immortal venerable, he would certainly not have a good ending if he was targeted by an 8 tribulation immortal emperor. At this moment, how could old ancestor Poisonous Dragon still have the mood to send troops to harass the human race? He immediately gave the order to retreat and return to the Northern Territory alone. As soon as he returned to the Northern Territory, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon immediately contacted the True Dragon clan and requested them to send another immortal venerable to guard the wild wasteland. However, there was no response from the clan for a long time. Damn it! Don't tell me you want me to wait for death in the wildlands. If that 8th tribulation great emperor comes to the boorish desolate, how can this old man resist him? I can only die. As Patriarch Poisonous Dragon sensed the blood mark of his palm that was carved into his bones, he drank spirit wine in a depressed mood, trying to drown his sorrows. In his drunken haze, Ancestor Poison Dragon suddenly heard a cold laugh. As soon as that laughter rang out, Ancestor Poison Dragon shuddered and immediately sobered up. Ao! Celestial Sovereign Ao Xian! Why did you come to the wilderness? Did the clan send you to take over this old man's position? Patriarch Poisonous Dragon stood up abruptly and smiled apologetically at a man with a scar beside him who was smiling coldly. No. Patriarch means that you don't have to rush back to the wildlands, and you don't have to worry about the human celestial emperor harming you because he won't have a chance to come back to the wildlands. Ao Xian said coldly. No chance to come to the wilderness. What do you mean? Patriarch Poison Dragon was confused. Go out and see if the snow is getting heavier. Hearing Ao Xian's words, Patriarch Poison Dragon immediately walked out of the main hall. When he saw the black snow outside, he was immediately shocked. How is this possible? Most of the defying nascent soul was destroyed, and only 40% of the formation was unsealed. How could this snow? Could it be? Patriarch Poison Dragon immediately looked at Ao Xian as if he was seeking confirmation. Patriarch had expected that the defying nascent soul would be discovered by the human celestial emperor, so he had already prepared a replacement. However, he didn't expect that even the unsealing formation would be destroyed. This is a bit troublesome. But it doesn't matter. Although there is only 40% of the formation left, it's enough to sacrifice the blood to the wilderness and achieve the common goal of our true spirit clan. One of the entrances to the heavenly desolate ancient realm is in the wilderness. This is the best time to unseal it. Patriarch has ordered us to unseal the entrance to the heavenly desolate ancient realm and take back the candle bow. Right now, no one can enter the wildlands, and no one can leave either. Even if it's an celestial emperor. Ao Xian let out a cruel smile. He didn't come here to exchange for Patriarch Poison Dragon's return, but to help Patriarch Poison Dragon complete the task. The Patriarch has ordered us to turn the wildlands into the cave world of the true Dragon Clan. No mistakes are allowed. Chapter 889. The snow was getting heavier and heavier. Tonight, more than 40 mortals in Heaven Man City fainted from the cold. Luckily, none of them froze to death. All of this was because there were many barbarian monks guarding the city. However, to most of the barbarian cities, tonight was just the beginning of the calamity. The number of mortals who froze to death in the entire wild wilderness was too many to count. The mortals who froze to death in the black snow would transform into wild beasts. There were also many barbarians who did not freeze to death who directly transformed into beasts. Many barbarian cities were destroyed by the wild beasts on this night. Even a city as strong as Heaven Man City was attacked by the foreign wild beasts several times. Fairy Han Wu and the others were injured. They were looking for a place to stay to stabilize their injuries. Zhao Dai, however, did not have the mood to sleep. She led a group of barbarian monks to guard the city walls despite the heavy snow. Immortal Loli and Lu Yen did not sleep for the whole night. They accompanied Zhao Dai, and helped her defend the city. To the mortals of Heaven Man City, Lu Yen, who was just at the Void Fragmentation Realm, was already a strong help in defending the city. Moreover, with Immortal Loli's help, they were not afraid of the wild beasts attacking the city. However, on this night, the battle drums did not stop. There were wild beasts that were as huge as mountains constantly ramming against the city walls. They were not afraid of death and were crazy. This night was definitely not normal. Ning Fan stood in the night sky above Heaven Man City with his hands clasped behind his back. His spirit sense was protecting the entire city. His eyes were extremely solemn. The black snow gave him a feeling of uneasiness as if a storm was coming. Even the air was filled with an oppressive atmosphere. There were only a few human cultivators in the entire ancient wild region who could sense this kind of oppressive atmosphere. Unfortunately, no one in the human race knew what the meaning of the snow was. Even Ning Fan could only sense the uneasiness from the snow. He could not foresee anything else. Using his finger like a blade, he cut off a strand of black hair. He tried to deduce the source of the uneasiness. However, he could only deduce the same word after repeated deductions. Tribulation. This snow was a tribulation. That was all that Ning Fan could know. With me here, Heaven Man City will not be harmed even if the snow is several times heavier. However, I wonder how many other barbarian cities in the ancient wild region will survive this snow disaster. I hope this snow doesn't cause an even bigger disaster, Ning Fan sighed softly. With a flash, he entered the western boundary of the profound Yin world. The trip to the Yellow River Snow Valley finally came to an end. During this trip, Ning Fan had completed the first tribulation and opened the second gate of the Heavenly Being realm. However, as soon as he thought of Kei Shensi and Immortal Emperor Luck wielding, Ning Fan's eyes turned gloomy again. During this trip, Ning Fan had obtained quite a number of spoils of war. Previously, he was busy avoiding the divination of the palm movement. Only now did he have the time to sort out these items. The first was the 9 Flowers Moon Sculpting Pill given to him by Fairy Cold Dance. 9 Flower Moon Sculpting Pill, 9 Revolution Silver Grade. It's used for healing injuries. Although it's a silver pill, its medicinal power is comparable to many 9 Revolution Golden Pills. The Southern Heaven upholds Tao, while the Northern Heaven upholds technique. Even in the Northern Heaven immortal world where alchemy is flourishing, this pill is still quite famous. Ning Fan consumed the 9 Flower Moon Shaping Pill and summoned 83,000 natal black stars. Then, he sat down cross-legged on the ground and began to heal his injuries. He had fought against the divine son of Kei Shensi, forcefully devoured the will of the dust tree and destroyed the second gate of the heavenly being realm. Then, he fought against Si Ming and forcefully broke the palm movement's divination. His body had accumulated quite a lot of injuries. With the help of the star technique and the pill, the injuries in his body were all healed in just 1 hour. Even some of the hidden injuries that he had left behind in the past were healed at the same time. The healing effect of this pill isn't bad. Besides, it also contains a trace of cold moonlight power which can improve the Tao of moon cultivators. However, it's useless for me. It seems like the 9-flower moon shaping pill isn't just a healing pill to the Guanghan Palace. It can also be used to improve one's cultivation base. Ning Fan exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi. After his condition had recovered to its peak, he took out a jade box which contained a heart with monstrous devil qi. It was the heart of an early shedding void corpse devil. A corpse devil heart that could beat. This item was a gift from the four-eyed devil sovereign to Ning Fan. With this corpse devil heart, I only need to obtain the corpse of an early-stage shedding void expert to create a shedding void corpse puppet. A corpse puppet made from the corpse devil heart can develop some spiritual intelligence. It seems like it can also possess some of the abilities of the deceased when they were alive. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, it wasn't difficult for him to obtain a new early shedding void corpse. He could easily make a new shedding void puppet. However, to Ning Fan, an early shedding void puppet was no longer of much use. Speaking of which, he still had an early shedding void ancient devil puppet in his possession. Its combat power was weaker than his, but it still required him to control it using the puppet strings. It was very troublesome. The ancient devil puppet is a puppet of desire. Without the puppet strings, it can't move. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. Suddenly, he thought of something. He patted his storage pouch and took out the ancient devil puppet. With a flick of his finger, the corpse devil heart was inserted into the puppet's body. As soon as the corpse devil heart entered its body, the hollow eyes of the ancient devil puppet immediately regained some intelligence. Ning Fan's purpose was to make use of the corpse devil heart to give the ancient devil puppet some spiritual intelligence. He opened his mouth and breathed out the first true fire, continuing to burn the puppet, causing the intelligence in the eyes of the ancient devil puppet to increase. When the intelligence could no longer increase, Ning Fan withdrew the devil fire and completed the refinement. At this point, the ancient devil puppet was considered to have completely integrated with the corpse devil heart and gained some spiritual intelligence. It would obey Ning Fan's orders obediently and would never betray him. At this point, the ancient devil puppet no longer needed to be controlled by the puppet strings. It automatically knelt to Ning Fan and spoke in a shaky voice. Arhat Du E, greets my lord. Ning Fan's eyes flickered slightly. It seemed like this ancient devil puppet still remembered its name when it was alive. Arhat Du E. Du E is a name, while Arhat is a Tao realm, a unique Tao realm of Buddhism. Interesting. Could it be that this puppet was a Buddhist cultivator when it was alive? Otherwise, why would it call itself an Arhat? Ning Fan tested the abilities of the ancient devil puppet and found out that after integrating with the corpse devil heart, it could actually use some abilities of Buddhism sect. It seemed like this puppet was really a Buddhist cultivator when it was alive. However, Buddhist cultivators had always hated ancient devils. It was a little strange that this Arhat cultivated the ancient devil Tao. Unfortunately, the cultivation base of this puppet is still too low. It's only at the early shedding void realm. Even if it has intelligence, it won't be very useful. Ning Fan turned the ancient devil puppet back into a human puppet and kept it in his storage pouch. With a flip of his hand, he took out a black seed. The seed of the Chen tree. Ning Fan could sense a weak power of the heavenly Tao inside the seed. With Ning Fan's current eyesight, he could naturally see that the heavenly Tao of the desolate world was already incomplete. This was the reason why barbarians could not cultivate the Tao. If he gave this seed to Zhao Dai, to refine, she might be able to borrow the complete heavenly Tao power inside the seed and gain the aptitude for cultivation. If Zhao Dai, could cultivate, she would naturally be able to step on the path of immortality like the cultivators of the ancient desolate world and get rid of her mortal body. Compared to the body-seizing technique of the fake Kei Shensi, this seed was obviously more suitable for Zhao Dai. The power of this seed is a little overbearing. It still needs to be nurtured for a while more before I can give it to Dai. After all, she is just a mortal body. She won't be able to bear the overbearing power. Ning Fan placed the seed in his cave residence in the Western world and set up a formation, intending to use the spiritual qi of this place to nurture the seed. After doing all these, Ning Fan simply repaired the damage of the puppet. Then, he took a step forward and directly crossed a vast distance, appearing in the Eastern world. The Eastern world was where the human cauldrons lived. Ning Fan directly entered the Palace of Repentance. There were 2 cells in the deepest part of the palace. The human cauldrons that he had obtained from the battle were imprisoned separately. Ning Fan first entered the first cell. In this cell, there were 7 female demons of the Phoenix clan. The 7 of them were wearing 7 colored dresses. Their cultivation bases ranged from early shedding void realm to late shedding void realm. When Ning Fan arrived, he happened to see an extremely erotic scene. The 7 female demons were all under Ning Fan's bewitching technique. Each of them fell to the ground. Their beautiful eyes were blurred and they were panting heavily. They could not help but moan uncontrollably. When they saw Ning Fan's arrival, the 7 female demons wore complicated expressions. Their expressions were filled with hatred and killing intent. However, there were also fear and desire. They naturally hated Ning Fan for being despicable and shameless to capture them with his bewitching technique. What they feared was that Ning Fan actually had a middle thousand world treasure. Since he was able to imprison them within it, it was obvious that he had a powerful background. What they desired was Ning Fan's touch. At this moment, each of them was immersed in the bewitching technique. They had long lost their rationality because of their desires. If it wasn't because of the imprisoning seal rope and the red net that bound their bodies, they would probably crawl to Ning Fan's side and beg him, "Despicable, human, cultivator. I'll kill you. I'll kill you, little thief. You're shameless. You're shameless, I feel terrible. I feel terrible. Hurry up and help me, N. It's so hot. I feel so hot." The voices of the 7 female demons were originally soft and sweet. Now that they were under the effects of the bewitching technique, their tone became even more charming. Even if they were uttering words that could kill, they were still as gentle as the whispers of lovers. Other than the different colors of their dresses, the 7 female demons' expressions and appearances were exactly the same as if they were carved from the same mold. The fake sparrow divine child said that each of these 7 women is a 7th of the Phoenix concubine's demon soul and demon body of the Sky Phoenix clan. If these 7 women merge into one, they will become the Sky Phoenix concubine, an ancient human cauldron, the Sky Phoenix clan. I didn't expect that the human cauldron that I casually caught would actually have such a background. Ning Fan's eyes were rather solemn. As far as he knew, among the tens of thousands of branches of the true Phoenix clan, one of the 3 strongest branches was the Sky Phoenix clan. The Sky Phoenix clan's Phoenix concubine was one of the 3 great Phoenix concubines of the Phoenix clan. Her status was comparable to the clan leader of the True Spirit clan, which was slightly weaker. Since you know that we are Sky Phoenix concubine, why aren't you letting us go now? If you offend us again, don't even think about leaving the desolate land alive. We are Sky Phoenix concubine, the daughters of Phoenix Emperor Chongming. If you don't let us go, my father will not let you go. The 7 female demons threatened him in unison. Their tone and tone were still exactly the same. Even if I let you go, you won't let me go either. I've heard that only virgins can be the Phoenix concubine of the Phoenix clan. Besides, as the Phoenix concubine, she must never let any man see her naked body. Any man who sees her naked body will be sentenced to death. No one is allowed to live to protect the Phoenix concubine's purity. I've already seen your naked bodies. I'm afraid the Sky Phoenix clan won't let me go. Ning Fan said expressionlessly. He was not afraid of the 7 women's threats at all. Currently, the 7 women's clothes were disheveled. Some of them revealed their soft breasts, some revealed their slender legs, and some almost exposed their entire bodies in front of Ning Fan. He had already seen their naked bodies. According to the domineering style of the Phoenix clan, they would not allow him to live in this world once they find out about this. He had heard of the name of Phoenix Emperor Chongming before. He seemed to be a seven-tribulation immortal emperor of the true Phoenix clan. With such a father, the background of these 7 women was certainly not ordinary. However, Ning Fan was still not afraid of them. He also did not plan to let them go. Since you want to kill me to gain merit, I'll keep you as my cauldrons. It's impossible for me to let you go. To me, plucking the 7 empty cauldrons is certainly not as beneficial as plucking the eternal cauldron. Therefore, I will find a way to merge your demon bodies again. When that time comes, I'll pluck you. As soon as they heard Ning Fan's words, the 7 women felt that he was being too arrogant. Ning Fan was just a junior from Duzhen. He actually looked down on the empty cauldrons and even wanted to pluck the eternal cauldron. Wasn't he afraid of bursting to death? Of course, they did not know that Ning Fan possessed the bone of 6 desires. Even though plucking the eternal cauldron was difficult, it was not life-threatening. The 7 women did not believe that Ning Fan had a way to merge their demon bodies into one. In other words, one of the main reasons why they appeared in the Yellow River Maze was because they wanted to merge their demon bodies into one. Their father predicted that there would be a fortune waiting for them in the Yellow River Maze. There was hope for them to merge their demon bodies into one. Unfortunately, what awaited them was not a fortune but a calamity. They were actually captured by Ning Fan. Now, I will plant a restriction on all of you. If you're smart, you won't resist this restriction. Ning Fan could naturally see the disdain in the eyes of the 7 women. However, he was too lazy to talk nonsense with them. He directly activated the chaotic world purple light and circulated the secret word, force, turning the light into mysterious restrictions that went into the 7 women's sea of consciousness one after another. Currently, Ning Fan had attained the 2nd level of the unity of heaven and man, which was rarely seen since ancient times. Thus, he could easily create his own abilities. By relying on his understanding of the secret word, force, Ning Fan used the sunset technique as the foundation to create a restriction called the sunset restriction. The sunset restriction was different from the demon restriction and sense restriction. It would not restrict the life and death of the target, but it could seal a woman's cultivation base, spirit sense and speech for a long time. Seeing that Ning Fan actually dared to plant a restriction on them, the 7 women's phoenix-like eyes were filled with anger. They wanted to resist the restriction, but each of their sea of consciousness nearly collapsed. The 7 women were shocked by the domineering power of the sunset restriction. Naturally, they did not dare to resist it and could only let Ning Fan plant the restriction on them. As soon as the restriction was placed, the demon power of the 7 women was immediately and thoroughly sealed. At this point, Ning Fan removed the imprisoning seal rope and the sunset technique net, restoring the freedom of the 7 women. Of course, this freedom was only limited to within the cage. Naturally, the storage pouches of the 7 women were also taken away by Ning Fan. The life-saving abilities hidden within their bodies were also extracted by Ning Fan one by one. Ning Fan actually planned to use the sunset restriction to seal the cultivation base of the 7 women and imprison them for a long time. In the future, when the 7 bodies of the 7 women become one, he would then pluck them. Without the entanglement of the bewitching technique, the 7 women gradually calmed down. The way they looked at Ning Fan was less charming and more cold. If they could still use their demon power, they would certainly rush forward and fight Ning Fan to the death without hesitation. Unfortunately, their demon power was currently sealed by the sunset restriction and they were no different from mortals. They could not harm Ning Fan at all. They still wanted to threaten Ning Fan. However, they were temporarily mute as they were sealed by the red cloud forbidden formation. Each of them pointed their soft fingers at Ning Fan with a cold expression. They were mumbling something, but Ning Fan could not hear them clearly. Even though he could not hear them clearly, he could still see what the 7 women were cursing inwardly with his mind-reading technique. The 7 women were cursing Ning Fan in an extremely unpleasant manner. They had cursed almost all of Ning Fan's ancestors. Ning Fan did not know about his ancestors that were even older, and he did not care about them either. However, the fact that the 7 women were cursing his parents had violated his taboo. His eyes instantly turned cold. If you are smart, then don't curse inwardly. Otherwise, I don't mind plucking you right now. Ning Fan's tone was cold and emotionless. That kind of coldness seemed to be able to freeze heaven and earth. It was definitely something that the 7 women had never seen in their lives. When the 7 women fused together, they were at least one of the 3 great Phoenix concubines of the Phoenix clan. However, at this moment, they were frightened by the coldness in Ning Fan's eyes. They immediately shut their mouths and did not dare to make any sound. They also did not dare to curse Ning Fan in their hearts. They could already tell that Ning Fan had a kind of ability that was similar to mind reading, which allowed him to read their minds. Seeing that the 7 women had learned their lesson, Ning Fan did not make things difficult for them. His relationship with the 7 women was just that of enemies. Since they wanted to kill him, he would pluck them. That was all. Other than that, there was nothing else. Your 7 souls have been separated for a long time. The reason for the separation seems to be because you have cultivated some kind of soul-splitting secret technique. If the 7 souls can't fuse together within 10,000 years, your souls will certainly disperse and you will die. It is extremely difficult to fuse the 7 souls into one. Unless I can find 7 types of innate spiritual herbs that have the effect of nourishing the soul and consume them together with a cultivator at the 2nd level of the unity of heaven and man to help you fuse your souls together, I should be able to fuse your souls into one. It's not difficult to find a cultivator at the 2nd level of the heaven and man realm. The problem is that 7 different types of innate spiritual herbs that can nourish the soul are too difficult to find. In this world, innate spiritual herbs are already rare, and those that have the effect of nourishing the soul are even rarer. Within 10,000 years, I don't have the confidence to find all 7 of them. If I can find them, you will be able to escape the calamity of your souls dispersing, but you will have to become my human cauldrons. If I can't find them, it will be your fate. As soon as Ning Fan finished speaking, he walked out of the cell and sealed the door, leaving the 7 ladies in the cell. Their faces were filled with astonishment. This little thief actually saw through the reason why my souls were separated with just a single glance. He even gave me the solution. The 7 ladies could not help but feel shocked. Even their father, the immortal emperor, did not know how to fuse their souls into one. However, Ning Fan claimed that he knew about it, and he even explained it in such a clear and logical manner. Could it be that this little thief is the fortune that my father has predicted? The 7 ladies knitted their brows and muttered to themselves. Ning Fan walked out of the cell where the 7 female phoenixes were imprisoned and entered another cell. This prison only imprisoned a strand of scattered moonlight. It was sealed by Ning Fan in a secret way. This moonlight was none other than immortal concubine Zhang Yu's moonlight remnant soul. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu, the traitor of the Guanghan Palace. In ancient times, she was a 9-tribulation immortal emperor. After the collapse of the ancient heavenly court, her whereabouts were unknown. Ning Fan murmured to himself and walked closer to the moonlight that was sealed off. The moonlight that was sealed off floated up from the ground bit by bit and formed a vague human figure. However, it was still incomplete and it could not display any of its cultivation base. Little thief! How dare you imprison me? Don't you know that I'm the progenitor of the vast cold palace? Aren't you afraid of the vast cold palace's revenge? The humanoid moonlight gnashed its teeth and threatened Ning Fan. Its voice was ethereal and pleasing to the ear, carrying a hint of charm and charm. The corner of Ning Fan's mouth twitched. He wanted to pluck the 7 ladies of the Phoenix clan. It was fine if the 7 ladies called him a thief, but why did immortal concubine Zhang Yu also do the same? Immortal concubine Zhang Yu did not have a physical body. She only had an incomplete primordial spirit. Ning Fan did not think about plucking her for now. Humph. Kill me if you have the guts. Otherwise, if I manage to escape, I will certainly hunt you down to the 9 heavens and 10 earths and tear you into pieces. This empress will definitely slaughter all of your kin. I will make you regret being born into this world. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu's tone was fierce. Her seductive tone also carried a hint of cruelty and cruelty. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. However, he did not kill immortal concubine Zhang Yu. Of course, it was not because he had tender feelings for the fairer sex. Instead, it was because he could tell from immortal concubine Zhang Yu's words that she was deliberately seeking death. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu did not want to die. She just wanted to die. Ning Fan remained silent. He stared at immortal concubine Zhang Yu's body made of moonlight. After a long time, he finally understood something. If I'm not wrong, your physique seems to be a little special. As long as you pay a certain price, even if I kill you with ordinary methods, you can still borrow the power of moonlight to be reborn somewhere else. You provoked me with words because you wanted me to kill you so that I could be reborn and escape. No. Not only that. The reason why you are so eager to provoke me and want me to kill you is because you are afraid that I will notice something else in your body. If I'm not mistaken, there is a tribulation sense restriction formation hidden in your body. Are you afraid that I will discover this restriction? Ning Fan's hand grabbed forward. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu's body of moonlight immediately showed a terrified expression. She desperately tried to escape from the prison but there was no way out. It was just as Ning Fan had guessed. She deliberately provoked Ning Fan in hopes that he would kill her as soon as possible and not discover the tribulation sense restriction formation in her body. Unfortunately, Ning Fan saw through her trick and the tribulation sense restriction formation in her body. As he grabbed, the layers of moonlight immediately flowed backward like waves. A scarlet-red rune restriction formation gradually took shape within the moonlight. It was an extremely ancient restriction formation that was planted with the power of tribulation sense. The pressure of the tribulation sense restriction formation contained the blood of the tribulation sense. It made Ning Fan feel as if he was facing Mount Tai. The Grand Firmament Tribulation Spirit who planted this restriction formation had at least the bloodline of a royal family. A tribulation formation planted by a tribulation spirit of a royal family. Ning Fan took a deep breath. A tribulation spirit of a royal family was in existence comparable to a third-step saint. This immortal concubine Zhang Yu actually had such a tribulation formation in her body. Could it be that she had fought against a tribulation spirit of a royal family before? Besides, there must be a reason why she was so afraid that he would discover the tribulation formation. Ning Fan's mind raced and he had a guess. Green light flashed in his eyes as he carefully studied the veins of the restriction formation. After a while, the corner of his mouth curled upwards and he said with a smile. No wonder you are so afraid of me. It turns out that this tribulation formation is just a formation without a master. Any tribulation spirit of a grand firmament realm can recognize this tribulation formation as its master. As soon as Ning Fan's words fell, immortal concubine Zhang Yu immediately had a bad feeling. She wanted to run away but there was nowhere for her to run. Ning Fan directly activated the power of his 6 stars tribulation blood. The power of the tribulation sense turned into thousands of red threads and pierced into the moonlight. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu did not feel any pain but she felt a bone-chilling coldness. When those red threads pierced into the moonlight, Ning Fan immediately completed the tribulation formation's ownership. Once Ning Fan did that, he could easily control immortal concubine Zhang Yu's life and death. Even if immortal concubine Zhang Yu had a secret technique to resurrect herself, she could only escape from being killed by ordinary means but not by the tribulation formation. No. This isn't real. I'm a dignified immortal emperor. How can I be your slave? Immortal concubine Zhang Yu wanted to cry but no tears came out. She really did not want to be Ning Fan's slave. Ning Fan ignored immortal concubine Zhang Yu's cries. To him, this tribulation formation was definitely an unexpected surprise. With this tribulation formation, no matter how powerful immortal concubine Zhang Yu was, she could only become his slave. With this tribulation formation, there was no need for him to seal immortal concubine Zhang Yu's broken body anymore. Ning Fan changed his hand seal and the seal that restrained immortal concubine Zhang Yu's body was immediately lifted. The moonlight that filled the room immediately condensed into a naked lady who was as graceful as moonlight. She was none other than immortal concubine Zhang Yu. Inch by inch, her fair and supple skin was completely exposed in front of Ning Fan. No. You're not allowed to look. If you continue to look, I will dig your eyes out. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu was extremely embarrassed and resentful. She raised her hand and waved a ray of moonlight at Ning Fan. Unfortunately, there was no need for Ning Fan to dodge. The attack could not land on him no matter what. Currently, immortal concubine Zhang Yu was already Ning Fan's slave. No matter how much she disliked Ning Fan, she could not attack him. She could not do anything to harm Ning Fan. She could not even commit suicide unless Ning Fan gave her permission. Her body and mind were no longer under her control. This was the terrifying part of the tribulation formation. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu, no matter how strong you were in the past, you are now just my slave. You have to understand this. Ning Fan suddenly reached out his palm and grabbed immortal concubine Zhang Yu's wrist. Even though she only had a broken divine body, her body felt solid. After all, she was a 9 tribulation immortal emperor at her peak, which was different from Luo Yu in the past. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu's skin was smooth and cold. It was as smooth as flawless white jade and as soft as the softest moonlight. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu was extremely embarrassed and angry when Ning Fan grabbed her wrist. She wished she could cut Ning Fan into 10,000 pieces. Her hand had never been touched by any man before. Oh. You still have your primordial yin? Ning Fan was surprised. He grabbed immortal concubine Zhang Yu's wrist just to check if her primordial yin was still there. Nonsense. I have never given myself to anyone. Of course, my primordial yin is still there. You. Why are you asking this? Immortal concubine Zhang Yu suddenly had a bad feeling. If I find a physical body and help you seize it and reform it, how confident are you to recover your peak cultivation level? I don't know. Why are you asking this? Immortal concubine Zhang Yu's face turned pale. The bad feeling in her heart intensified. If possible, I will help you reform your body. Maybe you will be my first immortal emperor cauldron. You. What did you say? You actually want to pluck me? How dare you? Immortal concubine Zhang Yu's aura was lacking, she felt like a nightmare was approaching her. Ning Fan did not want to talk to immortal concubine Zhang Yu about whether she dared or not. In his world, there was only the question of whether she could do it or not. As long as he could help immortal concubine Zhang Yu recover her body, he naturally dared to do so. If he could not recover his physical body, what was the point of him daring to do so? I was originally planning to continue imprisoning you here, but since this tribulation restriction exists, there's no need to continue imprisoning you. From today onwards, you will stay by my side and work for me. You want me to do something for you? Dream on. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu harumphed disdainfully. She was not willing to do anything for Ning Fan. However, her body was much more obedient than her mouth. She actually lost control of herself and bowed gracefully towards Ning Fan. Why don't you come with me? Ning Fan asked with a faint smile. Who do you think I am? How could I possibly leave with you? Immortal concubine Zhang Yu harumphed disdainfully again. However, her body followed behind Ning Fan respectfully like an obedient little bird. As expected, her body was more obedient than her mouth. Damn it! I can't control my actions at all. Is this the power of the Taitsung tribulation spirit? Immortal concubine Zhang Yu bit her lips in anger and embarrassment. She was currently naked in front of Ning Fan, which made her feel extremely ashamed. What was even more shameful was that she, a dignified 9 tribulation immortal emperor, had involuntarily become Ning Fan's servant. Put on your clothes and follow me out of the profound Yin world. Ning Fan casually took out a set of women's clothes, shoes and socks and tossed them to immortal concubine Zhang Yu. When immortal concubine Zhang Yu was changing her clothes, Ning Fan asked again. Speaking of which, you are an ancient immortal emperor and I heard that you have a close relationship with the ancient heavenly court. I have some questions to ask you. What Ning Fan wanted to ask was naturally about the destruction of the ancient heavenly court. However, before he could ask the question, his expression suddenly changed and his expression became extremely unpleasant. Without saying anything else, he flicked his sleeve and directly brought immortal concubine Zhang Yu away from the profound Yin world. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu had just finished putting on her clothes. Currently, she was wearing a light blue dress with a pure white veil over it. Her perfect figure was vividly displayed. Her long hair that reached her waist was fluttering gently in the wind. It was only loosely tied with a light blue ribbon. A moonlight bracelet was casually tied around her wrist. The bracelet's buckle was shining, making her skin as fair as snow. Her eyes were 30% pure and 70% charming. Such a beautiful and peerless appearance was rarely seen in this world. Unfortunately, Ning Fan did not have the mood to appreciate such a beauty standing beside him. As soon as he returned to the outside world, he immediately pushed open the door and went out. His eyes flashed with cold light. The wind and snow outside the house were howling with killing intent that soared to the heavens. Ning Fan could not help but be shocked and angered by the great changes that had happened in the ancient wild region. Chapter 890. When Ning Fan walked out of the room, the first thing he saw was a huge shadow in the night sky. The shadow occupied the peak of the wild sky. It was unknown how high it was from the ground. Ordinary cultivators of the Dujin realm would not be able to fly to the peak of the wild sky to see the true appearance of the shadow even if they spent a few months. Even if Ning Fan had learned the heaven-peering rain technique, he could not turn his spirit sense into rain and reach that height to see the appearance of the peak of the sky. His eyes were covered with green light. Even though he could see through the night sky, he could only vaguely see that the shadow was an ancient statue. The shadow of the ancient statue suddenly appeared in the night sky, as if it had descended from the endless void. The eyes of the ancient statue were dark at first, but as time passed, 2 rays of red light shot out from them, overlooking the entire wild desolate. At this moment, not only Ning Fan, but all the living beings in the wild desolate felt that they were being targeted by someone's killing intent. The thing that was targeting all living beings with killing intent was the ancient statue on the peak of the wild sky. Following that, the voice of an old man descended from the sky, and echoed throughout the wildlands like a clap of thunder. Once the ancient statue turns, the dust formation opens, imprisoning all living beings in the wild sky. Ning Fan's expression changed the moment he heard the voice. He had heard these words in the Dujin illusory realm. When the 7th barbarian ancestor performed the blood sacrifice in the wild desolate, he had said these words. These words were obviously the incantation to activate the immemorial dust formation. The killing intent contained in these words was as if it would not hesitate to destroy the entire wild desolate. As soon as the words fell, the shadow of the ancient statue in the night sky suddenly rotated, producing a dull rumbling sound. Thousands of red light immediately broke out of the ground and formed a formation above the ground. 40% of the wild desolate was instantly submerged by the blood-red formation light. Immemorial dust formation. Someone is activating this formation at the peak of the blue sky, attempting to sacrifice the blood of the wild desolate. Ning Fan's eyes widened. Without any hesitation, he soared into the sky, bathed in the wind and snow, standing tall in the night sky. His black hair fluttered in the wind. After activating the rain technique, Ning Fan's spirit sense fused with the night rain and spread it across the entire desolate lands. In the past, the demon race had tried to unseal the broken remnants of the primordial dust-defying array, but they only succeeded in unsealing 40%. The remaining 60% was destroyed by the human race's immortal venerables. Therefore, the ancient dust-defying array could not cover the entire desolate land. It could only sacrifice 40% of the land. Even so, it was enough to cause a shocking massacre in the wildlands. Of the 42 domains of the wilderness, apart from the 7 demon domains and 5 human domains, there were still 30 domains that had yet to be conquered. Out of the 30 unconquered barbarian domains, 17 of them had fallen into the immemorial dust-defying formation and turned into a living hell. Ancient Savage Wilderness Region, 5th District. A certain barbarian city named Middle Mountain City had just experienced an attack by the savage beasts, and was currently enjoying a moment of peace after the beast tide had receded. However, this tranquility was immediately broken by the bloody light that shot out from the ground. On the city wall, hundreds of city guards were repairing the barbarian statues under the command of the barbarian monks. Many people in the city were already covered in wounds. The long street was filled with collapsed houses, dried blood and frozen corpses. The corpses belonged to both humans and beasts. It was enough to show how brutal the beast tide was when they attacked the city. The survivors in the city wore a sad expression. They did not know if they could survive this cold and snowy night. However, the moment the bloody light descended, the expressions of the tens of thousands of people in the city froze. Before they could scream, their bodies exploded one after another. Their blood seeped into the ground. The huge middle mountain city instantly became an empty city. The cold wind blew through the ruins, but there was no response. It sounded like a whimper. In the entire 5th district, excluding Middle Mountain City, there were a total of 490,000 barbarian cities. None of them were spared. Ancient Savage Wilderness Region, the 12th Barbarian Region. In a barbarian city named Mengong City, dozens of eminent scholars braved the heavy snow to give their last lecture at the foot of Mengong Mountain. There were many eminent scholars in Mengong City, but there were very few barbarian monks. This city had always been the holy land of Confucianism that countless barbarians in the 12th Barbarian Region yearned for. However, the city was already on the verge of destruction due to the waves of attacks from the barbarians. The people in the city knew that if the barbarians attacked the city a few more times, they would die in the mouths of the barbarians. They knew that their lives were near. They were afraid of death. Some of them hugged their heads and cried bitterly. There were also some scholars who were not afraid of death. They braved the heavy snow and listened to the teacher's lecture. This was the last lesson. They believed in heaven, earth, king and master. They believed that life and death were decreed by fate. However, they were still unwilling to accept the fact that they were lowly mortals who could not choose their own fate. What I have learned in my life is all about Confucianism. I thought that I was a knowledgeable man, but even when I am about to die, I still don't understand what is Confucianism. Confucianism should serve the needs of humans. It should follow the will of heaven. It should be clear about who is superior and who is inferior. It should be respectful to heaven. It should not go against the natural order. I have been following the will of heaven all my life. I have taught all living beings and followed the will of heaven. I have never rebelled against it. However, in the end, heaven wants me to die. It wants the thousands of innocent people that I have taught to die. Why? We Confucians worship the ancestors of heaven. However, heaven has repeatedly sent calamities to us, abandoning our lives. I have pursued Confucianism all my life. Whether it is right or wrong, I worship the heaven. Whether it is right or wrong. A hunchbacked old scholar with a white beard was wailing in the wind and snow. However, his wailing soon stopped. In the next moment, the entire Mengong city was brutally sacrificed. No one survived. There were 620,000 barbarian cities in the 12th region of the Wild Wasteland. All of them were destroyed and countless people died. The 13th region, the 15th region, the 16th region. All of the unconquered barbarian regions were drowned by the blood light. The 8th region of the Wild Wasteland, where the Heaven Barbarian City was located, was fortunately not within the coverage of the immemorial dust-defying formation. Ning Fan should be feeling lucky, but he could not smile. A total of 17 unconquered barbarian regions were sacrificed. In just 10 breaths of time, hundreds of billions of barbarians were killed by the immemorial dust-defying formation. The demon race is raising the nascent soul and secretly unsealing the incomplete formation. Is it all for tonight's blood sacrifice? What is the purpose of them sacrificing the Wild Wasteland? If I didn't leak the news of the demon race's incomplete formation and caused 60% of it to be destroyed, I'm afraid the entire Wild Wasteland would be sacrificed by the immemorial dust-defying formation tonight. Even the Heaven Barbarian City wouldn't be spared. Ning Fan stood in the snowy sky with his hands clasped behind his back. His eyes were cold as he looked at the dark shadow at the peak of the sky. The dark shadow of the ancient statue was still rotating. Gradually, the entire wild wasteland showed signs of collapsing. The second revolution of the ancient statue, dust-defying formation, blood-devouring immortal cultivators. The voice of an elderly man resounded from the peak of the sky. As soon as his voice fell, the 17 unconquered barbarian regions that were sacrificed by the immemorial dust-defying formation collapsed. The collapse continued to spread, causing the entire wild wasteland to become unstable. The first to collapse was the sky of the wild wasteland. The sky shattered like a mirror. Large pieces of it shattered, revealing an endless void. The entire ancient wild domain seemed to have become a piece of land that was floating in the endless void. The next to collapse was the continent of the wild wasteland. The dark shadow of the ancient statue at the highest point of the void suddenly approached. It descended from the sky and landed heavily on the land of the 22nd Barbarian region. The 22nd Barbarian region was not sacrificed in the first place. However, as soon as the ancient statue landed on it, a destructive force immediately hit the land of the wild wasteland and spread out crazily. The entire wild wasteland trembled. In an instant, it broke into tens of thousands of pieces and sank in the void. Ning Fan's eyes widened once again. The 8th region of the wild wasteland where the Heaven Barbarian City was located was directly broken into more than 3,000 pieces of land. All of them slowly sank to the bottom of the void. When Ning Fan activated his magic power, this piece of land gradually floated in the air. In the entire Heaven Barbarian City, countless barbarians fell to the ground. They were all shaken by the movement of the earth's crust. Each of the barbarians' eyes were filled with fear and terror. They had never seen the world of the wild wasteland shattering, and they had never seen the void before. The void storm suddenly came and directly swept away a section of the city wall. In an instant, that section of the city wall was blown 1,000,000 li away. Immortal Loli, Lu Yen, Zhao Dai, and hundreds of soldiers were standing on the city wall. "Father! Help!" Immortal Loli was the first to shout. With her lightning power, she would not be blown away by the void storm. However, for some reason, she could not summon much lightning power at this moment. Her entire body felt limp, making it difficult for her to use her abilities to resist the storm. It was not just Immortal Loli. Even Lu Yen, who was at the void fragmentation realm, also felt her cultivation base being suppressed for some reason. The circulation of her magic power became sluggish. She was originally a void fragmentation realm cultivator. However, she could only use divine transformation realm magic power at the moment. She was completely powerless to resist the void storm. Her pretty face showed a hint of nervousness. As for Zhao Dai, and the others, they were just mortals. Thus, they were even more powerless to resist the void storm. They had long been shocked speechless by the storm. Ning Fan's heart tightened. He directly took a step forward, crossing a distance of 1,000,000 li and stood in front of the void storm. He pressed his 5 fingers and directly crushed the storm. Then, he activated his ability and moved the broken city wall 1,000,000 li away. He brought it back to the Heaven Barbarian City and put it down. Only then did he feel relieved. That was close. He actually did not notice that after the ancient statue's second revolution, the broken wild wasteland had an additional force that prohibited immortals. When he thought about the fact that Immortal Loli, Lu Yen, and Zhao Dai had almost died in the void, a trace of cold sweat actually appeared on Ning Fan's forehead. He had watched Zhao Dai, grow up and regarded her as his nephew. As for Immortal Loli and Lu Yen, they had been together for tens of years. Their relationship was also very deep. If the 3 of them really died in the void, Ning Fan could not imagine the scene. Little friend Ning. What happened to this place? The ancient wild region has actually been destroyed. There's actually an extremely powerful force that prohibits immortals in this place. Fairy Han Wu and the others flew to the city wall one after another. Each of their eyes were filled with astonishment. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu, who was dressed in a blue robe with light muslin, also landed beside Ning Fan. Her beautiful eyes were filled with seriousness. Ning Fan shook his head silently. He did not answer their questions. Instead, his eyes were solemn as he circulated the Force character and set up a grand formation on the broken continent where the heavenly barbarian city was located, isolating it from the attack of the void storm. He also really wanted to know why the ancient wild region would have such a powerful force that prohibits immortals. To first-step cultivators, the realm-breaking light was like a nightmare. Even rogue immortals were afraid of it. If they were not careful, they would be killed by it. To second-step cultivators, the immortal forbidden power was like a cage. Unless one was an old monster of the eternal ancient realm, no one could resist it head-on. The immortal forbidden power would not kill anyone. It would only suppress a cultivator's cultivation base. Depending on the strength and type of the immortal forbidden power, the effect of the suppression would also be different. The immortal forbidden power in this place was undoubtedly formed because of the immemorial dust-defying formation. Immortal Loli was already at the critical moment of the evolution of her lightning body. She did not have any magic power and could only mobilize her lightning power to form her divine abilities. After being suppressed by the immortal forbidden power, it was almost impossible for her to mobilize her lightning power and form her divine abilities. Lu Yen originally had a void fragmentation realm cultivation base. However, her cultivation base was directly suppressed by the immortal forbidden power by 2 great cultivation levels. Thus, she could only exert mid-divine transformation realm strength. On the other hand, mortals like Zhao Dai, who did not have magic power, were not afraid of the immortal forbidden power. Currently, Immortal Concubine Zhongyu, Earth Devil and Daoist Iron Crow's cultivation base were comparable to Peak Shedding Void Realm. Under the suppression of the immortal forbidden power, they could only exert the strength of Peak Crossing Truth Realm. Currently, Fairy Cold Dance could only exert the strength of Mid-Crossing Truth Realm while Four-Eyed Devil Monarch could only exert the strength of Peak Ghost Profound Realm. Ning Fan checked his body again and his eyes were filled with puzzlement. The cultivation base of the others was suppressed by the immortal forbidden power in this place. However, his cultivation base was not suppressed at all, especially the power of Jie Shui. Not only was it not suppressed, it even increased a little. The immortal forbidden power in this place is very strong. It can suppress a first-step cultivator's cultivation base by 2 major realms and a second-step cultivator's cultivation base by 1 major realm. However, the immortal forbidden power has no effect on me. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. All of a sudden, he patted his storage pouch and took out the ancient devil puppet and the cloaked puppet. The ancient devil puppet was early shedding void realm. Once it was released, its cultivation base was suppressed to early crossing truth realm. The cloaked puppet was originally mid-thought shattering realm. Once it was released, its cultivation base was suppressed to mid-shedding void realm. Even the puppet's cultivation base will be suppressed by the immortal forbidden power. But my cultivation base is not suppressed at all, only when one's cultivation base has reached beyond the immortal forbidden power can one ignore it. Even Immortal Concubine Zhongyu, Earth Devil and Iron Crow who used to be ancient monsters would not be able to ignore the immortal forbidden power once their cultivation base is greatly damaged. However, I can ignore it. Ning Fan remained silent and kept the puppets. In the void, a group of savage beasts suddenly dashed towards this place. Their killing intent was extremely strong. The group of savage beasts was still very far away, but Ning Fan could already see them from afar. There were also some experts of the demon race traveling with those savage beasts. They seemed to be the commanders, driving the savage beasts to kill them. When Ning Fan's eyes swept across those savage beasts and demon cultivators, his eyes immediately froze. The cultivation base of the demon cultivators that came to this place was suppressed, but the cultivation base of the savage beasts was not suppressed at all. Instead, their strength had increased slightly under the immortal forbidden power. This was similar to the increase of the Jie Shui in Ning Fan's body. If I'm not mistaken, the immortal forbidden power of this world does not restrict the savage beasts, the ancient monsters and the Taicang Jialing. There were 4,000 to 5,000 savage beasts that came to this place. The weakest among them was at the void fragmentation realm and the strongest was an early shedding void realm savage beast. There were only 2 demon cultivators that came to this place. Both of them were old monster Duzhen. However, under the suppression of the immortal forbidden power, they could only display the strength of the ghost profound realm. The expressions of the 2 demon cultivators were very arrogant. When they saw that there were still survivors on this broken continent, they immediately sneered. Interesting. Not only are there barbarians who survived on this continent, but there are also a few cultivators here. It's a very unpleasant smell. It's the smell of human cultivators. One of the purple-faced demon cultivators sneered. Humans? Then let's kill them. There are 3 peak Duzhen experts here. Before they were suppressed by the immortal forbidden power, they were undoubtedly at the peak shedding void realm of the human race. When we were at our peak, we were just at the Duzhen realm. If it was in the past, we would have to take a detour when we see a peak shedding void realm old monster. But now. Hee. We are following the order of venerated immortal Ao Xian to control the savage beasts to kill the enemies. With the savage beasts here, why should we be afraid of the peak shedding void realm? The other bald demon cultivator smiled coldly and gave the order to the group of savage beasts behind him to massacre the city. Among the group of savage beasts that they led, there was an early shedding void realm savage beast. The savage beast was not afraid of the immortal forbidden power of this place. It was not difficult for it to kill 3 peak shedding void realm experts who were once at the peak shedding void realm. Waves of ferocious beasts approached them. The densely packed waves of beasts directly caused countless barbarians in the Heavenly Man City to exclaim. The expressions of Earth Devil and the others changed. If they were not suppressed by the immortal forbidden power, they certainly would not be afraid of the early shedding void realm savage beast. However, now that their cultivation bases were suppressed, they were extremely wary of the early shedding void realm savage beast. That shedding void realm savage beast was still very far away from the Heavenly Man City. However, it had already released its killing intent and randomly locked onto immortal concubine Zhongyu. Immortal concubine Zhongyu. She felt that she must have had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Otherwise, how could she be reduced to Ning Fan's shedding void realm servant from a dignified 9 tribulation immortal emperor? My bad luck hasn't faded yet, alright? There are so many people in the Heavenly Man City, but the moment the shedding void realm savage beast arrived, it only targeted her. She instantly wanted to cry but had no tears. Fuck. This beast has its eyes on me. It wants to kill me first. Immortal concubine Zhongyu felt depressed. My cultivation base is being suppressed by the immortal forbidden power. I can't exert my full strength. If I face that shedding void realm savage beast now, my chances of winning are slim, alright? If it's not because of this immortal forbidden power, I can still fight 10 of you at once even if my primordial spirit is damaged. Immortal concubine Zhongyu was filled with grief and indignation. The situation is urgent, retreat. Immortal concubine Zhongyu wanted to retreat a little and let the others fight the savage beast first. Even though she had already made up her mind, her body did not listen to her. Before Ning Fan gave the order, she had already walked to Ning Fan's front involuntarily. She tilted her body slightly and shielded Ning Fan behind her, completely like a hen protecting her chicks. Who is she? She actually took the initiative to protect father. Could she be father's new wife? Immortal Loli blinked her eyes. She had never seen immortal concubine Zhongyu before. Who is she? Her chi is a little familiar. However, have I seen her before? Fairy Cold Dance was slightly puzzled. The same confusion also appeared in the eyes of Earth Devil and Daoist Iron Crow. Immortal concubine Zhongyu had never revealed her true appearance. She had always been hiding in Fairy Cold Dance's sea of consciousness. After she was released by the fake Sparrow Shensi, she had always appeared in the form of moonlight. Only when Ning Fan took her as Jie's slave did she return to her human form. Her chi was also slightly different from her moonlight form. Naturally, she was not recognized by Fairy Cold Dance and the others. She actually sacrificed herself to protect Senior when the shedding void realm savage beast is attacking the city. She must have a close relationship with Senior. Lu Yen sighed faintly. Damn it. I can't control my body. I obviously want to run away, but my body wants to protect this little thief unconsciously. What an evil Jie Jie. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu felt like vomiting 3 liters of blood. Ning Fan's originally cold eyes suddenly had a hint of a smile. He said to immortal concubine Zhang Yu with a faint smile. Not bad. As Jie Jie's slave, your loyalty is commendable. You know how to protect your master during critical moments. This is very good. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu's pretty face twitched. Damn it. I don't want to protect you at all. I wish I could chop you into dumpling stuffing. However, your cultivation bases have been suppressed by the forbidden immortal power. It's better if you don't attack the shedding void realm savage beasts. You retreat first. I alone am enough for this battle. Before he finished speaking, Ning Fan's figure flashed and disappeared from the city wall. He directly appeared in front of the heavenly barbarian city, blocking the path of countless savage beasts. His eyes were as cold as the winter snow. After Ning Fan ordered her to retreat, immortal concubine Zhang Yu immediately moved backwards uncontrollably. She felt ashamed of her body's obedience. She bit her lips and glared at Ning Fan with her beautiful eyes. However, she was stunned all of a sudden. She did not know if it was her illusion, but she vaguely felt that Ning Fan's cultivation base was not suppressed by the forbidden immortal power. This feeling was just too absurd. However, at the next moment, she was stunned. She realized that her feeling was not wrong at all. Ning Fan was blocking the path of nearly 5,000 savage beasts alone. His white robes fluttered in the wind, but his eyes were cold and emotionless. His body still had the mid-true crossing realm chi. He was not suppressed at all. Little friend Ning's cultivation base is not suppressed at all. Fairy Han Wu revealed a look of surprise. Even though she did not know why Ning Fan's cultivation base was not suppressed, she knew that since his cultivation base was not affected, it would be a piece of cake for him to deal with an early shedding void realm savage beast. Suddenly, a red light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. That red light contained an aura force that originated from his bloodline. With just a glance, it made thousands of savage beasts tremble as if they had seen something terrifying. Strange. What's the background of this man? He could actually make the shedding void realm savage beasts tremble in fear. Even I felt my heart palpitating just now. The purple-faced demon cultivator said with a frown. This man is currently at the mid-true crossing realm. Before he was suppressed by the forbidden immortal power, he should be a mid-shedding void realm cultivator. Mid-true crossing realm is nothing to be afraid of. Beasts, listen to my command. Kill this man and slaughter the entire city. The bald demon cultivator commanded the group of beasts once again. As soon as his voice fell, his face immediately turned pale with fright. At this moment, Ning Fan had unsealed the yin-yang rain and yin-yang battle techniques. His aura force was immediately comparable to an early shedding void realm expert. He was clearly standing in the sky, but it was as if he was stepping on all the rain and the Tao of war in the world, giving others a feeling of vastness and invincibility. That aura force was still increasing. In the past, Ning Fan's body had 3 types of power: magic power, essence chi, and demon spiritual power. At this moment, Ning Fan had fused a 4th type of power into the 3 types of power, the power of the tribulation blood. Currently, he was already a 6 stars remnant bloodline grand firmament tribulation spirit. With the additional power of the tribulation blood, his strength naturally improved tremendously. As the 4 types of power converged on his body, Ning Fan's aura force continued to rise. However, once the amount of power increased, it became difficult to suppress it. He actually felt like he was going to suffer from chi deviation. Fortunately, Ning Fan waved his hand and summoned the ghost face, turning it into a silver-haired ghost face. With the power of the innate ghost face, Ning Fan forcefully suppressed the agitation of the 4 types of power, making them calm down. Once again, he activated the war god art and displayed the soul extraction technique. With the support of various secret techniques, his aura force was now completely comparable to a mid-shedding void cultivator. Moreover, because he had used the power of the calamity blood, he was currently clad in white robes with a ghostly face and silver hair. His entire body was covered in a layer of ominous and evil red light. Under the red light was a white robe. And his eyes, because of using the calamity blood, became even more cold and emotionless, his demonic nature becoming even more dense. That was the devilish nature of the grand firmament tribulation spirits. The purple-faced demon cultivator and the bald old man had seen many devil cultivators in their lives. However, it was their first time encountering someone with such a devil nature like Ning Fan. Just by meeting Ning Fan's gaze, he nearly lost his mind and became Jie Jie's slave. Shedding void middle stage. What kind of secret technique is this? It can actually allow his cultivation to skyrocket to this extent. It's him. Ghost-faced silver hair. He was someone that Patriarch Poisonous Dragon wanted to kill. After killing him, one would be able to obtain an embryonic emperor pill. You must kill him. Kill him. Before the two demons could give out their orders, Ning Fan had already arrived. No one could see Ning Fan's movement technique clearly. All they could see was a ray of red light flashing across and dashing into the group of wild beasts. In Ning Fan's hand, there was a black-red barbaric flash that was as fast as lightning. Wherever he went, all the wild beasts that tried to stop him were all killed by Ning Fan with a raise of his hand. Even the early shedding void realm wild beast that had mustered its courage to stop Ning Fan's advance was slapped down from the sky by Ning Fan's palm. It let out a miserable shriek and fell to the ground. Even though there were many wild beasts in this place, with Ning Fan's abilities, he was able to eliminate all of them within 10 breaths. However, he did not have the intention to eliminate all the wild beasts. With a flash of his body, he appeared in front of the two demon cultivators and pointed his finger at their glabella with the red light of the calamity sense. These two demon cultivators could control the wild beasts under their command. What Ning Fan wanted to do was to enslave them and use them to control all the wild beasts in this place. Ah! Two blood-curdling screams resounded in the air. The two demon cultivators were drowned by the sea of red light. At the peak of the void, there was a gigantic barbaric statue with two heads floating in the air. If Ning Fan was here, he would certainly notice that this two-headed barbaric statue had the same appearance as the 7th-generation barbaric ancestor, Fan Ma Kong. The ancient statue was rotating bit by bit. It had completed the first revolution and the second revolution. However, it was extremely difficult to complete the third revolution of the ancient statue. Two immortal venerables of the demon race were sitting cross-legged on the head of the ancient statue. One of them was Venerables Ao Xian and the other was Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon. They were exerting all of their strength to complete the third revolution of the ancient statue. All of a sudden, Venerables Ao Xian opened his eyes and exclaimed softly. Strange. I can't sense the life and death restriction that I planted in the bodies of my two subordinates. However, their life plates are still intact. This restriction will only disappear after they die. Just as Venerables Ao Xian was puzzled, his eyes suddenly turned serious. He stood up and threw the matter to the back of his mind. The matter regarding the two subordinates only puzzled him at most. However, it was not worthy of his attention. However, the two human immortal venerables who had suddenly arrived here made him pay attention to them. 6 harmonies, Miaoyan. Good. Very good. You guys have finally found this place. Ao Xian sneered coldly and looked at the void above. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon also stood up and smiled viciously. At the peak of the void, the figures of a man and a woman slowly appeared. They were the two immortal venerables of the human race, 6 harmonies and Miaoyan. At this moment, both of their expressions were extremely unpleasant. It was impossible for them not to come and investigate the cause of such a huge change in the wild wasteland. Du Longzi. Ao Xian is here too. What exactly are you guys doing? You actually sealed the entire wild wasteland and caused it to collapse? Miao Yan's pretty face darkened and she scolded. Chapter 891. Du Longzi. Ao Xian is here too. What the hell are you doing? How dare you seal off the entire wilderness and cause it to collapse? Senior Immortal Miao Yan's pretty face sank as she rebuked. Senior Immortal Ao Xian narrowed his eyes and revealed a cold glint. Without answering Senior Immortal Miao Yan's question, he suddenly raised his hand and shot out two jet-black flames towards Miao Yan and Lu He. It was unknown what those two flames were. One was hard and the other was soft. Dao laws flowed out of the flames and instantly covered the void like a dense spider web, causing the temperature of the cold void to rise suddenly. The power of Dao laws dispersed to both sides and condensed into two gigantic black flames. As soon as they shot out, they immediately shook the void and swept out millions of black flames. Wherever the black flames swept past, the void was cut open from the middle and burned, causing black smoke to billow. As the black flames slashed down, a series of beast roars resounded between heaven and earth. The sound was sharp at first, but it became low when it entered the ears. It sounded like the roar of a dragon, the trumpet of an elephant, the angry roar of an ancient demon, and the chanting of an ancient monk. The expressions of the two eternal immortal venerables, Lu He and Miao Yan, instantly changed. If they guessed correctly, the two black flames that caused the void to burn were the famous ancient demon sacrificial artifact of the true dragon clan, the Brahma demon mace. This mace had a great origin. It was a weapon left behind by a deceased demon emperor of the true dragon clan, and its grade had reached the Xiantian realm. Rumor had it that the demon emperor who forged this mace was proficient in Buddhism and had fused Buddhism and demon Daos into one, so he was able to forge this weapon. The Brahma demon mace was abnormally heavy. Only the old monsters of the eternal ancient realm who had entered the Tao with their bodies could use it freely. If one had enough strength, they could use this mace to split the heavens and earth. Ao Xian was not proficient in body refining techniques, so he could only use this mace as a hidden weapon and could only use 30% of the mace's power. Even so, Lu He and Miao Yan's eyes turned solemn. Without any hesitation, Senior Immortal Lu He opened his mouth and spat out a black light. As soon as the black light fell into the void, it immediately turned into a black jade seal and spiraled out. It was his Dao weapon. The jade seal was surrounded by nearly 1,000 imperial qi, and the majestic might of the emperor was shocking. 1,000 streams of sovereign qi immediately shot out, condensing into a giant golden palm that was 10,000 feet in size, directly grabbing at one of the two silhouettes. Venerable wisdom words bit his finger and pointed forward, transforming his blood into stars and instantly forming 12 blood-colored stars in the void. The stars intertwined and formed a constellation that looked like a heavenly steed. Once the constellation was formed, the momentum was immediately drawn over. The 12 stars condensed into a 10,000 feet long unicorn celestial horse. It leapt out, its hooves crushing the void as it charged towards the other celestial horse. 6 harmonized seal, crepe myrtle star technique. These are not enough to block my Brahma demon Jian. Ao Xian's eyes were filled with disdain as he shook his head slightly. His hand seal changed abruptly as the Brahma demon dual truncheons swept out, and the might of a Khanate descended from the sky. The left truncheon was incomparably ferocious. It was carved with the totem of a demonic elephant, as though the power of mountains and rivers had been integrated into the truncheon. With a single swing, the truncheon smashed the golden palm that was formed by the sovereign qi into pieces. The right truncheon was as soft as water, and it was carved with the totem of a demonic dragon. As the dragon roared, waves of soft energy were unleashed, transforming into the phantom of a dragon's tail. With a sweep, the unicorn celestial horse was smashed into pieces. 6 combos celestial venerable focused his eyes and pointed forward. The jade seal Dao soldier immediately turned into a mountain and smashed towards the elephant truncheon. Seeing this, Ao Xian laughed, and the ferocity in his eyes intensified. He changed his hand seal, and the elephant truncheon swung towards the jade seal. The collision of the two treasures immediately caused the entire space here to collapse. The elephant Jian had the upper hand in this clash. After a breath's time, the Jade Seal Dao soldier was filled with cracks. After 2 breaths' time, the Jade Seal Dao soldier was invaded by the Dao law of fire, and it was torn from the inside out. After 3 breaths' time, the elephant truncheon swept out with all its might. The huge force crushed the sky, and it was ruthless. It directly smashed the 6 combos Celestial Venerable's Jade Seal Dao soldier into pieces. With the Dao soldier destroyed, 6 combos Celestial Venerable's face immediately turned pale. There was even a trace of disbelief in his furious expression. After the Dao soldier was destroyed by the elephant truncheon, 6 combos Celestial Venerable had not yet stabilized himself when the dragon stallion swept over again. He was shocked, and his figure flickered and instantly disappeared, merging with the void. The dragon stallion also flickered and disappeared. When it reappeared, it swept towards a certain void, sweeping the 6 combos Celestial Venerable out of the void. He vomited blood and retreated. Without the Brahma Demon Truncheon, Ao Xian's strength would only be on par with 6 combos. However, with this treasure, Ao Xian was actually able to suppress 6 combos. Wise Words Celestial Venerable wanted to help 6 combos resist the dual truncheons, but he suddenly felt a chill down his spine, and he immediately turned around. Behind him, a towering shadow was already closing in. With a wave of its hand, it directly grabbed at him, as though the sky was falling. That shadow was actually an ancient statue floating in the sky. At this moment, Ancestor Poisonous Dragon was standing on the head of the ancient statue. His 10 fingers formed a seal to control the ancient statue to attack her. The ancient statue was not dead, and it gave off a fierce aura like that of a fierce beast. As the stone fragments fell, the petrified white bones underneath were revealed. The power of the ancient statue's grab had surpassed the power of a Celestial Venerable's attack and was comparable to a Celestial King's attack. At this moment of crisis, Wise Words Celestial Venerable pointed and 24 drops of blood flew out. They turned into stars and formed a constellation. It was a constellation that looked like a divine turtle. The moment it moved, a mottled, ancient turtle shell shield flew out and blocked before the ancient statue. With the strength of the shield, Master Poisonous Dragon didn't think he could break it head-on. However, under the grab of the ancient statue, the giant shield let out a muffled bang and then collapsed. The collapsing force continued forward and hit Celestial Sovereign Miao Yan. The sound of bones cracking came from Celestial Sovereign Miao Yan's body. It was as if she had been hit by a cultivation planet. Her delicate body flew out like a kite with a broken string, and her face was pale. Master Poisonous Dragon's attack with the ancient statue was no weaker than Ao Xian's attack with the double Jian. Hee, wise words, wise words, do you know that this old man has 6 more of these ancient statues? Ancestor Poisonous Dragon's words were like a bolt of thunder that exploded in Wise Words Celestial Venerable's ears. Just one ancient statue was enough to make Wise Words Celestial Venerable powerless. She couldn't imagine what would happen if there were 6 more of these statues. How could she and Lu He survive? As if to confirm her words, the ancient statue continued to attack Wise Words Celestial Venerable. Ancestor Poisonous Dragon was very calm as his hand reached at the void. Countless pieces of gravel and bones flew out from the void and slowly gathered to form a second ancient statue. The demon race had operated in the wilderness for many years. Not only had they found the broken statue of the 7th generation ancestor, they had also found the broken statues of the first 6 generations. The one who had attacked Wise Words the Immortal was the 7th Berserker ancestor, Fan Makong's ancient statue. There was a blood soul attached to the ancient statue, and that blood soul was formed by the fusion of 108 reversed nascent souls. With this blood soul, the ancient statue was no longer just an ancient statue, but an existence similar to a stone statue puppet. As Ancestor Poisonous Dragon activated his divine ability, the shadow of the second ancient statue slowly formed and appeared at the peak of the void. The moment the second ancient statue was formed, its empty eyes immediately looked at Patriarch Poisonous Dragon, and an ancient questioning voice came from its body. I am the 6th generation ancestor. Fan Lianxiu. Who are you? How dare you summon my bones to form an image, hee, I am Junior Poisonous Dragon. Greetings to the 6th generation ancestor. Although I am a demon, I have already made an agreement with the wild beasts of this world. I am your friend and not your enemy. Don't worry about this, Senior. Ancestor Poisonous Dragon slapped a demon talisman at the second ancient statue. The moment the demon talisman appeared, it immediately suppressed the voice from the ancient statue. He continued to activate his divine ability and summoned the other ancient statues from the void. The 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Ancestor Poisonous Dragon summoned the remains of all 7 generations of barbaric ancestors from the endless void and condensed them into ancient statues. However, the ancient statues of the first 6 generations of barbaric ancestors were different from the 7th generation. They did not have the blood souls fused with the reverse souls, so they could not be used as puppets to attack Wise Words. Ancestor Poisonous Dragon looked at Wise Words quietly as if he was looking at a dead man. He did not say a word. He was waiting. He was waiting for the immemorial earth-defying formation to activate, waiting for the countless living beings that were sacrificed to turn into the reverse souls and fuse with them to form a new blood soul. When the other 6 blood souls returned to their positions and the 7 ancient statues gathered together, they would be able to slaughter the entire wilderness and summon the ancient passageway to the heavenly desolate ancient realm. Soon, the other 6 blood souls of the barbaric ancestors will be formed in the wilderness. When the time comes, I just need to summon them and the ancient passageway will appear. Ancestor Poisonous Dragon smiled in satisfaction. With the power of the Brahma demon Jian, Ao Xian had already severely injured a 6 combination Immortal Venerable. With the power of the ancient statues, Ancestor Poisonous Dragon had also severely injured a 6 combination Immortal Venerable. Wise Words bit her lips and tried her best to resist the attack of the 7th generation ancient statue. She knew that she and Lu He were no match for Ao Xian and the others. It was only a matter of time before they were completely defeated. She could feel that as the wilderness collapsed, human cultivators were being killed by the wild beasts at every moment. Without the power of the forbidden immortal, the human cultivators would naturally not be afraid of the wild beasts, but now, damn it. What are the demons trying to do? Are they crazy? Don't they know that there is an ancient passageway in the ancient savage region that leads to the heavenly desolate ancient realm? Aren't they afraid of damaging the ancient passageway by destroying the wilderness like this? Or is it because of this passageway that they destroyed the wilderness? Wise Words' pretty face was covered in frost. She secretly activated the jade talisman in her sleeve. The jade talisman was given to her by the 4-Fish sect. It could open the temporary realm gate at any time and evacuate the wilderness. However, the wilderness was sealed by the immemorial earth-defying formation, so the jade talisman could not be activated no matter what. Since the temporary realm gate could not be opened, the connection between the wilderness and the outside world had been cut off. The people outside couldn't come in, and the people inside couldn't go out either. When I was stationed in the wilderness, I received a secret order from the puppet sect. If there is any change in the wilderness, I can use the heaven-sealing immortal edict to delay it for a while and wait for the puppet sect's reinforcements. I only have half of the immortal edict with me. The other half is in the hands of fellow Taoist Lu He. I've already roughly guessed the reason behind the collapse of the desolate land. There's an endless amount of formation force in this heaven and earth that's circulating along with the rotation of that ancient statue. As long as we can seal this formation force, the demon race's scheme should be slightly delayed. If the demons are really after the ancient passageway, we can't let them succeed no matter what. Wise Words' beautiful eyes flashed. Her red lips slightly opened and she spat out a mouthful of boiling blood mist. Her face became even paler. Clearly, the backlash from spitting out the blood mist was not light. As soon as the blood mist appeared, it immediately formed 72 stars in the void and linked together to form a constellation. An ancient wood cage suddenly appeared in the constellation, directly trapping Ancestor Poisonous Dragon and the 7 generations ancient statue. Even with Wise Words' divine ability, she could only trap the ancient statue for a moment. As soon as the ancient statue was trapped, she immediately flew towards Lu He. With a wave of her palm, a golden radiance flickered in her hand. Half a golden immortal edict with yellow cloth appeared. The immortal edict was opened in the wind. There was only a single divine seal character written with a red brush on it, fluttering in the wind. Gui. 6 directions Immortal Venerable was struggling against Ancestor Poisonous Dragon. When he saw Wise Words take out the immortal edict, he immediately understood her intention. In his hand was the other half of the heaven sealing immortal edict. There was a word, Cun, written on it. The combination of Gui and Cun was sealing. Once the 2 immortal edicts were combined, they would have the power to seal the heavens. Even if there were any changes in the wilderness, the human cultivators could rely on this immortal edict to temporarily protect themselves. It seems like I can only use the power of the heaven sealing immortal edict. As 6 directions Immortal Venerable retreated, he waved his hand and took out the other half of the immortal edict. He opened it and activated it. Almost at the same time, the immortal edicts in Lu He's and Wise Words' hands flew out and combined into one in the void, becoming a complete immortal edict. The red word, seal, immediately flew out from the immortal edict. The sealing power contained within it instantly spread throughout the entire wilderness. The immemorial dust-defying formations operation actually slowed down due to the power of the heaven-sealing immortal edict. The ancient barbarian statues that stood tall in the void rotated slowly to begin with. Due to the heaven-sealing immortal edict, their rotation became even slower. The void of the wildlands began to twist and distort as a series of enormous scarlet doors appeared. Surging sealing power poured out of the doors. There were a total of 108,000 giant doors. Among them, 8,000 were the life doors that could contain the heavens and the earth. The remaining 100,000 were the death doors. They contained formations. If one accidentally entered one of them, one would immediately be attacked and trapped by the formations. The shattered continents were sucked into different life doors. Wise Words and Lu He were also sucked into different life doors as they retreated. Ancestor Poisonous Dragon activated the ancient statue and broke the cage with a palm strike to escape. Before he could stabilize himself, he was sucked into one of the life doors. The 7 ancient statues were also sucked into their own life doors. Ao Xian's expression was one of shock and anger. It was obvious that he did not expect Wise Words and Lu He to have the heaven-sealing immortal edict. It's the heaven-sealing immortal edict. Damn it! Ao Xian's expression was extremely ugly. He lost his balance and was sucked into one of the life doors. The scenery in front of him changed rapidly. Ao Xian managed to stabilize himself with great difficulty. He swept his gaze across the world he was in, and his expression was terrifyingly dark. What he saw was a desolate, broken continent. In the sky, there were hundreds of faintly discernible giant doors. Some of them were alive, and some were dead. It was difficult to distinguish them. Ao Xian recognized one of the giant doors and flew into it. He remembered that he was sucked into this place by this giant door. He wanted to return the way he came, but he strangely appeared in another world. It was another life door and realm door. He passed through a few more giant doors and landed in a death door that was filled with formations. Even with Ao Xian's strength, he was temporarily trapped by the death door's formation and could not escape. Damn it! Originally, I only needed to kill 6 Harmony's Wise Words, and there would be no more obstacles. I could make the ancient statue transform 3 times and unseal the ancient passage. I didn't expect them to have the heaven-sealing immortal edict and directly seal the primordial defying dust formation. They even sealed the entire wildlands into 108,000 heaven-sealing gates. The primordial defying dust formation is only 40% incomplete. With the power of the heaven-sealing immortal edict, the formation can be sealed for at least 7 days. After 7 days, the power of the heaven-sealing immortal edict will be exhausted, and the wildlands will be restored to its original state. Damn it! If the plan is delayed for 7 days, I don't know what will happen. If the Patriarch finds out that I didn't do my job well, he will definitely punish me. Ao Xian's expression became uglier and uglier as he faced the attacks from the Death Doors formation. In the southern heaven celestial world, at the peak of the Four-Direction Mountain in the Four-Direction sect, a stone statue that was half the height of a human suddenly opened its eyes and transformed into a black-clothed, black-haired boy. Although this person had the body of a boy, his eyes were indifferent and his aura was restrained. Once it was released, it was enough to shock the heavens. This person was the strongest among the 28 constellation ancient emperors of the Four-Direction sect, the Sky-Piercer Ancient Emperor. The Sky-Piercer Ancient Emperor pinched his fingers and calculated. After a while, he smiled gently. The demon race finally couldn't hold back and want to attack the ancient passage. More than 400 realm wars and countless dead bodies, all for today. The Immortal Edict can seal the wildlands for 7 days. After 7 days, the ancient passage will definitely appear. The demon race seems to want to turn the wildlands into a cavern world and monopolize the passage. How greedy. Unfortunately, if they want to monopolize the passage to the wildlands, they have to first ask for our consent. After a moment of silence, the Sky-Piercer Ancient Emperor suddenly sent a voice transmission to the starry sky. As soon as his voice fell, it immediately turned into dozens of purple gold voice transmission flying swords that instantly spread across the starry sky. On this day, all the celestial emperors in the Four-Direction sect received the voice transmission from the Sky-Piercer Ancient Emperor. In the southern heaven celestial world, the Fate Controller Immortal Palace. In the void, a purple gold voice transmission flying sword broke through the air, appearing and disappearing from time to time. Its speed was so fast that even ordinary immortal venerables and immortal kings couldn't catch the sword light of the voice transmission flying sword. In the cave abode of the Wind Thunder Mountain, the Fortune Controller Immortal Emperor suddenly opened his eyes. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the voice transmission flying sword light in his hand and crushed it. After listening to the voice transmission from the Sky-Piercer Ancient Emperor, the Fortune Controller Immortal Emperor smiled and closed his eyes in satisfaction. The ancient passage in the wildlands is finally going to appear. 7 days. It's better not to watch this show. South Heaven Immortal World, Purple Mansion Academy, Calamity Controller Great Hall. The Calamity Controller Immortal Emperor was meditating under the green lamp. She was dressed in a palace robe, graceful and moving, casting a clear shadow on the ground. Her expression was calm, but this tranquility was soon broken by a voice transmission sword light. The demon race has finally made a move on the wildlands. I wonder if the appearance of the ancient passage is an opportunity or a predestined fate for the illusionary world. Her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. She slowly stood up, her figure gradually faded, and eventually disappeared from the hall. North Heaven Immortal World, Black Tortoise Star. As usual, the tablet-wielding Immortal Emperor Meng Xuanzi was preaching on the Black Tortoise Star. When he was talking about the crucial part, he suddenly received a voice transmission from Nan Tian. His expression instantly changed. After giving a few instructions to his disciples, Meng Xuanzi immediately flew out of the Black Tortoise Star and disappeared without a trace. Countless cultivators who came to listen to his sermon looked at each other in dismay. North Heaven Immortal World, North Sea Star Region, Lost World Palace. In the depths of the forbidden area of the Lost World Palace, inside a 7-colored pagoda, a gray-robed old woman was reprimanding a beautiful woman in palace robe. If Ning Fan was here, he would certainly recognize that the beautiful woman who was being reprimanded by the old woman was Yuan Yao, who had a romantic past with him. Yao, you've let me down this time. Even though the marriage between Bei Xiaoman and the Shiman clan was arranged by the Great Elder, it was also tacitly approved by me. Why did you collude with the Shiman clan to cancel the marriage? I know that you love your daughter dearly and you disdain marriage. However, do you know that the Shiman clan is backed by a secret race? If I want to completely control the Lost World Palace, I especially need the power of the secret race. Yuan Yao lowered her head and did not say a word. However, there was a hint of bitterness hidden in the corner of her eyes. After so many years, she had found out that the Liu Bei whom she met in the past was the same person as the Zhou Ming whom her daughter Bei Xiaoman could not forget. Liu Bei. Zhou Ming. Ning Fan, the young man whom she had fallen in love with, was actually the same person that her daughter loved. How ironic. Be it Liu Bei or Ning Fan. Since Xiaoman has already given her heart to this person, I naturally can't marry her to the Shiman clan. Fortunately, the Shiman clan is reasonable and agreed to cancel the marriage. I heard that it was the young lord of the Shiman clan, Shiman Yi, who agreed to cancel the marriage. If one day, Liu Bei comes to the northern heaven and meets Xiaoman, she will probably be very happy. However, how should I face him? If I meet him, I might as well not meet him. Yuan Yao's heart was filled with bitterness. However, she did not say a word and allowed the gray-robed old woman to reprimand her. Suddenly, a purple-golden sound-transmitting flying sword pierced through the sky. The gray-robed old woman summoned the flying sword into her hand and crushed it. After listening to the sound transmitting from the sword, her face immediately broke into a smile. Good. 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 7 days, right? Good. The old woman stopped smiling and her face turned gloomy again. She snorted coldly at Yuan Yao. Since the matter regarding Bei Xiaoman has already been settled, let's just forget about it. In the future, if you disobey my orders again, don't blame me for being merciless. As soon as she finished speaking, her figure flashed and flew out of the 7-colored pagoda, disappearing without a trace. Yuan Yao was left alone in the same place. She let out a faint sigh as if all the strength in her body had been drained. Liu Bei, I have done my best to help you and Xiaoman. If you come to the northern heaven one day, you must treat Xiaoman well. Don't let her down. Otherwise, I will never forgive you. Most of the immortal emperors who were affiliated with the Four Meridians sect were gathered in the northern and southern heavens. On this day, dozens of celestial emperors disappeared mysteriously between the northern and southern heavens. On this day, dozens of celestial emperors left the demon spirit land in the upper realm. Their whereabouts were also unknown. The border between the demon spirit land and the four heavens celestial realm was an endless blood-red void. There were countless pieces of bones floating in the void, and occasionally, there would be blood-colored meteors flying across the void. Among those bones, there were the remains of ancient cultivators. They were as hard as post-heaven celestial treasures. However, if those bones were hit by the blood-colored meteors, they would immediately shatter. The impact of the meteors was enough to injure ancient celestial sovereigns. This blood-colored void was called the Red Piercing Passage. It was one of the paths that connected the four heavens and the demon spirit realm to the upper realm. These blood-colored meteors were known as crimson penetrating stars. One red piercing star could directly kill a soul destroyer. 10 red piercing stars could kill ancient celestial sovereigns. 1,000 red piercing stars could kill celestial kings. 10,000 red piercing stars could even turn an celestial emperor to ashes. The Red Piercing Passage was extremely dangerous. It was divided into the east, middle, and west sections. The four heavens celestial realm occupied the east section and the demon spirit realm occupied the west section. If a human emperor entered the west section, they would be attacked by the red piercing stars. If a demon emperor entered the east section, they would also be attacked by the red piercing stars. The piles of bones inside the Red Piercing Passage were left behind by the powerful humans and demons that had trespassed. Due to the existence of the Red Piercing Stars, very few emperors were willing to come to the Red Piercing Passage. Normally, very few people came to the Red Piercing Passage, but today, more and more celestial emperors gathered at the middle section. There were human emperors and demon emperors. The two celestial emperors each occupied one side of the void. They didn't make a move, but the smell of gunpowder was very strong. Right now was not the time to make a move. There was a gray void under everyone's feet. This gray void was where the wild desolate realm was located. However, at this moment, the wild desolate realm was sealed. Even though there were many emperors here, they couldn't enter the wild desolate realm. This was because the wild desolate realm was completely surrounded by the ancient dust-defying formation. The demon race's scheme ultimately did not escape the eyes and ears of the human race. The demon race had destroyed the wildlands and activated the immemorial dust-defying formation, while the human race had activated the heaven-sealing immortal edict. Hee, the heaven-sealing immortal edict? The four-fish sect was so generous to actually give this item to the realm-guarding immortal venerable. Fortunately, I don't expect Ao Xian and Du Longzi to conquer the wildlands in one fell swoop. 7 days later, the ancient passage will appear. Perhaps, we will have to fight the human race for this passage. The true dragon tribe leader was dressed in a golden robe. His eyes were deep and emotionless. He stood in front of the demonic emperors and looked at the ancient heavenly emperor from afar. The ancient emperor of Tongtian was expressionless as he stared at the true dragon patriarch. Behind the heavenly-reaching ancient emperor, there were the calamity-wielding immortal emperor, the tablet-wielding immortal emperor, the grey-robed old lady of the Lost World Palace, and many other immortal emperors from the north and south heavens. No one chose to make a move at this moment. Everyone was waiting for the confrontation 7 days later. 7 days later, if the ancient passageway were to appear, the immortal emperors here would definitely fight for it. Ning Fan did not know that there were nearly 100 great emperors of the two races waiting outside the wildlands. Currently, he was staring coldly at the two slaves who had scarlet eyes. These two slaves were the two demon cultivators who had attempted to massacre the entire city. At this moment, the two demon cultivators were kneeling in front of Ning Fan without any extra expression on their faces. They had already been subdued by Ning Fan's tribulation sense and became Jie's slaves. In a sense, they were already dead. However, they were still living in the form of Jie's slaves. They only obeyed Ning Fan's orders. Other than Ning Fan, they would not recognize anyone else. The 4,000 wild beasts followed their orders and prostrated themselves on the ground. Their heads were lowered and they looked like a mountain in fear of Ning Fan. Ning Fan used the reverse spirit technique to search the memories of the two demons. From their memories, Ning Fan found out that the demon race did not only have one immortal venerable guarding the wildlands. Now, the second immortal venerable had arrived. Ning Fan also found out that the collapse of the entire wildlands was an important part of the demon race's blood sacrifice. Currently, the entire wildlands had been sealed and no one could enter or leave. The two demons had no idea what the ultimate goal of the demon race was: to destroy the wildlands. Other than Du Longzi and Ao Xian, no one else in the entire wildlands knew about it. What Ning Fan knew was that the demon race and the wild beasts had reached some kind of agreement. Most of the high-grade wild beasts had signed a blood restriction with the experts of the demon race. The so-called blood restriction was a restriction in the bloodline of the demon race. It could only be formed if the wild beasts were willing to sign it. The two demons in front of Ning Fan each commanded 2,300 wild beasts with the help of the blood restriction in their bodies. There were many other demon cultivators who were similar to them. All of them relied on the blood restriction to command countless wild beasts. They obeyed the orders of the demon race's immortal venerables. Once the wildlands collapsed, they would lead the wild beasts to massacre the entire wildlands. Once the immortal forbidden power was activated, most of the human cultivators would not be able to defeat the wild beasts. It was not difficult for them to find human cultivators in the broken wildlands to slaughter. The gate of the realm should have appeared a year later. I didn't expect that the demon race would destroy the wildlands before I left. Ning Fan's eyes glowed with green light. He activated his ability and extracted the blood restriction in the bloodline of the two demons. After swallowing it, he raised his hand and killed the two demons. In the past, he could not see the blood restriction nor could he extract it. However, after opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm, he could do it easily. The two demons had the sensing restriction that Venerables Ao Xian planted in their bodies. Keeping them by his side would bring more harm than good. After devouring the blood restriction, Ning Fan could directly control the 4,000 wild beasts. Thus, he did not need to keep the two demons who would become a hidden danger. He took out the jade talisman that he took from Si Ming and secretly activated it. However, he realized that the jade talisman could not be activated. It could not open the passage to leave the wildlands. I can't leave, huh? Ning Fan frowned and fell into silence. Suddenly, he raised his head and looked at the shadow of the ancient statue at the highest point of the void sky. He saw a vast wave of battle fluctuations coming from the shadow. It was obvious that venerables were fighting on it. Gradually, the second, the third and the fourth shadow appeared at the top of the sky. Eventually, there were a total of 7 shadows of the ancient statue. Immediately after that, an incomparably strong sealing force descended from heaven and earth. Then, countless giant doors appeared in the void sky. Ning Fan and the broken continent where the heavenly barbarian city was located were sucked into one of the life doors. There were a few other broken continents that were sucked into the life door together with them. However, there were no living creatures in those continents anymore. It was as if they had been sacrificed. Green light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes and he looked at the giant doors in the void sky. With his eyesight, he could vaguely see that these giant doors were divided into 2 types, the life door and the death door. Before he could take a closer look, a series of rumbling sounds came from one of the life doors. Immediately after that, a broken continent flew out from the life door. There were hundreds of human cultivators on that broken continent. Most of them were just at the void fragmentation realm. The one with the highest cultivation base was just a late mortal profound realm female cultivator. However, her cultivation base was only at the late void fragmentation realm after her cultivation base was suppressed by the power of the forbidden immortal. Each of these cultivators looked panicked. Behind them, hundreds of wild beasts were madly chasing after them. Even though the highest cultivation base among the wild beasts chasing after them was only at the mortal profound realm, once the wild beasts catch up to them with their suppressed cultivation base, they would only end up dead. Are we going to die? The immortal cultivator revealed a look of despair. Her name was Tong Er. She was one of the many maidservants of venerated Miao Yen. Due to the collapse of the wild continent, the continent where she and the hundreds of human cultivators were located was separated. Then, due to the power of the heaven-sealing immortal edict, they were sucked into a life door. There were many wild beasts in that life door. With the cultivation base of the cultivators that was suppressed by the power of the forbidden immortal, they were not a match for the wild beasts at all. They could only flee. They fled into other life doors in order to enter the other life doors and seek help from the human race. Unfortunately, they had already passed through several life doors but they still could not find help from the human race. They had to admit that they were very lucky to not have entered any of the death doors. Otherwise, they would probably be dead by now. While they were in despair, they suddenly realized that there were a few broken continents in the life door. One of them had the vague aura of a few cultivators on it but they could not sense it clearly. Tong Er excitedly spread her spirit sense towards the broken continent where the heavenly barbarian city was located. After taking a glance from afar, her heart sank again. Although there was the aura of cultivators on that broken continent, there were also the aura of thousands of wild beasts. There was even a void-shedding wild beast among them. There are wild beasts here too. There's actually a void-shedding wild beast. Tong Er closed her eyes in despair. The wild beasts that were chasing after them were at the human mystic realm at most, which was enough to make them feel despair. There were thousands of wild beasts hibernating on the broken continent in front of them, including a void-shedding wild beast. Initially, they thought that they had found help from the human race, but they did not expect that they had mistakenly entered an even more dangerous wild beast nest. The rest of the human cultivators were also in despair. Suddenly, Tong Er heard the roars of fear from the hundreds of wild beasts that were chasing after them. She opened her eyes in shock. The first thing she saw was a man with a ghost face and silver hair. He was dressed in a white robe with a red glow. He stood in the sky and looked at everyone coldly. Just a glance from him was enough to make hundreds of wild beasts tremble. Tong Er looked at the man in disbelief. This man had the aura of a human cultivator. Tong Er could feel an aura that was not weaker than a void-shedding intermediate stage cultivator. One should know that the entire desolate land was currently suppressed by the forbidden immortal power. All second-step cultivators below the ancient times would be suppressed by a major cultivation realm. Since this man has the aura of a void-shedding intermediate-stage cultivator, could it be that he was a mid-thought fragmentation realm old monster before he was suppressed by the forbidden immortal power? Mid-thought fragmentation realm. Tong Er's eyes immediately became fervent. Any powerful expert of the human race who could cultivate to the mid-thought fragmentation realm was an old monster whose name shook the world. She could only look up to such a senior. This lady looks a little familiar. She seems to be the maid of venerated wisdom words. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. A moment later, he made up his mind. He had a cold and indifferent personality. If these human cultivators were being chased by the wild beasts, he would most likely turn a blind eye. After all, if he saves these people and keeps them by his side, they would more or less become troublesome. Now that the desolate land was in chaos, Ning Fan could barely take care of himself. How would he have the mood to care about others? However, he had seen venerated wisdom words made before. Even though it was just once, he remembered that Tong Er was venerated wisdom words made. Venerated wisdom words had helped him resist the 7 truths 7 illusions arrow. Thus, he did not mind saving this maid for venerated wisdom words. Kill! Ning Fan gave an order indifferently. Then, a strange scene immediately appeared. Under the control of the forbidden blood in his body, the 4,000 wild beasts that were lying on the ground outside the heavenly barbarian city soared into the sky and charged at the hundreds of wild beasts that had just arrived. How is this possible? Tong Er and the other human cultivators were astounded. They had never seen